All right. We're going to call the Star City Council meeting to order. It's Tuesday, May 6, 2025 at 7 p.m. I just got to wish my daughter a happy birthday. It's her birthday today. So we're here for that. Can you please all join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. We have Jeff Wood, who's going to do our invocation tonight for us. Sir, thank you. And he's our Ada County Sheriff's pastor, by the way. Chaplain. Sorry.
For the willingness they have to serve on our behalf. We pray for them tonight that they may be good to remember, that they may remember that they should be good stewards of our finances and the plans that transpire here in this great city. We're grateful for the residents that are here tonight and pray that the messages that they express, the concerns that they express will be done civilly and appropriately in a manner that would be pleasing unto you. We are grateful for this great country that we live in, the freedoms we enjoy. We're grateful for this area that we have moved to and live in, and pray that we might all be good stewards of this great city as well. And we leave this in the sacred name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you. Roll call.
Hershey,
Here.
Wheelock,
Here.
Salmonson,
Here.
Nielsen.
Present. All right. We're all counted present for. We'll move on to item 4, the consent agenda.
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilwoman.
I move to approve the consent agenda consisting of 5A, the approval of claims, 5B, approval of minutes for April 1st, 2025. 4C, approval of minutes April 15th, 2025, and 4D, findings of fact, conclusions of loss for Serrano Estates subdivision, annexation and zoning, development agreement and planned unit development and preliminary plat.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? Anybody?
I'll second.
Yeah, we have a motion by Councilwoman Salmonson and a second by Councilman Nielsen. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Hershey,
Aye.
Wheelock,
Aye.
Salmonson,
Aye.
Nielsen.
Aye.
All right, that motion carries. All right, we're going to move on to item 5, the public hearings tonight. The first one we're going to have is the quarry at River Park. If you guys want to speak at this public hearing, please make certain that you signed up on the sheets in the back. Here pretty quick, Ryan will be bringing them up here to the front. Just so everybody's aware of the public hearing process we have here. I will open the public hearing and ask the council if they have any ex parte contact or communication. Our staff will present the application. The applicant then has up to 20 minutes to present their project. The council can ask the applicant questions and staff questions during that time frame as well. Then we'll have public testimony for 3 minutes per person. During that time frame, or even after, the council may ask the individual who's speaking. We'll follow up questions, and that won't count towards your 3 minutes. We'll work our way through it. The applicant rebuttal is about 10 minutes, and the council will then ask the applicant and staff follow-up questions if they choose. I will close the public hearing, and the council is going to deliberate to either make a motion to approve with conditions, deny, or table the application to a date certain in the future. Only the person that's at the podium has the floor and can speak, so no cheering, clapping, none of that kind of stuff, please, for us, because we want to keep everything civil and make sure everybody gets heard. So with that said, it is 7:04, and I'm going to open the public hearing and ask the city council if they have any ex parte contact or communication regarding the quarry at River Park preliminary plat and private road project.
No.
None.
Okay, hearing none. Sean, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first public hearing that you have before you this evening is the Quarry at River Park subdivision. It's a preliminary plat and private streets. The application consists of a preliminary plat on approximately 186 acres with 228 residential lots, 3 commercial lots, and multiple common lots. City Council approved an annexation and zoning to R2 and C1 of this property in 2022 with a conceptual plan and a residential density of 1.23 dwelling units per acre. The approved development agreement included approval of private streets throughout the development. Conditions of approval in the development agreement included 7.5-foot side yard setbacks and the relocation of the clubhouse. The application requirements, including submittal requirements, agency transmittals, legal noticing, and site posting have all been completed as per the Unified Development Code requirements. Staff has also reviewed the application for compliance with the Unified Development Code and the City Comprehensive Plan. The Comprehensive Plan land use map designates this property as residential with commercial and a commercial industrial corridor land use designation. You have one late exhibit before you, and that is the review letter from the City of Star, or excuse me, the Star Fire District. Items of special consideration this evening include the previously approved private streets, including public access and emergency responder access, maintenance of sidewalks. Staff is recommending, has made a recommendation, and we discussed this with the applicant, that the city would like to see future dedication of those streets into public right of ways at the conclusion of the development of the entire subdivision. The other item for consideration is the proposed and approved commercial uses. Council did approve an RV park as part of the original development agreement. They did not list any other proposed or future uses in the development agreement. So staff is recommending that the development agreement be modified after tonight's meeting to include any new conditions of approval that council or staff places upon the development. Staff did recommend in the staff report specific principal permitted, conditional use, and prohibited uses within the development. The last consideration is regarding fencing and buffering. You do have a letter in your staff, or 2 letters in your staff report from neighboring property owners regarding fencing and buffering. Staff would recommend consistency with any fencing to be consistent with the original River Park subdivision to the east. Staff is recommending approval of this application with the conditions of approval. Again, the property is located south of Highway 44, east of Trigger Ranch Lane, and west of Blessinger Road. This is the colored rendering that the applicant has provided, showing the layout of the property, including the street system, lot configuration, and the amenities within the development. For reference, this is what we're calling the West Star area that includes the most recent and developing properties on both the north and south side of Highway 44 west of Canada Road. The applicant's property is highlighted in the red. Finally, the applicant did provide some housing elevations that would be part of the development agreement exhibit package. That's all staff has.
Okay. Any question of staff at this time? All right, hearing none. I forgot to mention up here on the wall, next to the TV is a timer for everybody. So look at, and Todd, are you the presenter? Travis is going to present first. All right, then state your name and address, sir, for the record, and the floor is yours.
Thanks. Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. My name is Travis Hunter with Boise Hunter Homes. Our business address is 923 South Bridgeway Place in Eagle. So as stated, tonight we're before you seeking a preliminary plat approval for the quarry at River Park Estates. Before Todd comes up to discuss the details of the quarry, I wanted to take a couple minutes to provide you some context so you could better understand what we do and the value we bring to your city. So we're a local land developer and home builder. We have 65 employees and we conduct 100% of our business in the Treasure Valley. Our mission is to create the best communities in the Treasure Valley, provide opportunity for our employees to build the lifestyle for their families they desire, and to be profitable. Although there's a need for all housing types in the valley, we focus on communities with unique lifestyles and quality housing. The quarry that we're presenting tonight, it's really a continuation of our River Park Estates community that we are several years of work into. Many proposals come in front of the council and they're presented to you guys with illustrations from landscape architects and concepts of what might be to come. However, tonight we have the luxury of presenting to you work we have already accomplished and will continue to accomplish with the quarry at River Park Estates. You could leave it on that one, Todd. Yeah. River Park Estates, it's a waterfront community featuring a half-mile riverfront park for our residents to use. So we were actually friends with the landowner of this property before we bought it and developed it. And they used the river frontage as a wedding venue, actually. And believe it or not, that's where I was married 10 years ago, coming up on July 4th. So in the land plan for River Park, we had an appreciation for all the river frontage, and we decided to leave the majority of the river frontage without homes on it so that all residents of River Park could enjoy the lifestyle that it has to offer rather than just a select few. Go to the next slide, Todd. So the second notable feature that we incorporated, you go to the next one, that we incorporated into River Park are the lakes that we created, which the homes surround, allowing for beachside recreation out the backyard. So in this photo, you could see the front elevations of the homes we build, the quality of architecture, the quality of the landscaping, things that we pay a great amount of attention to detail to. Next slide. So this slide, it's a photo of the personal beaches that we build. And actually a lot of thought went into these beaches as we've seen waterfront communities with mixed results around town. As we study the success and failures of beach design, we discovered there were several key elements to pay attention to. So the first is that you can't rely on individual homeowners to install their own beach treatment. We'd seen other developers take this approach and have observed that some beaches turned out nice and others didn't. So we decided that every home would have beaches installed up front by our team. Another element is, so actually the sand that you see there, we'd seen a lot of beaches where the sand was on a slope and the sand ends up sloughing off into the water and exposing the weed barrier and then creating a muddy shoreline. So you have to basically grade a little flat pad for where that sand goes. And then a third element that's important is you see that that river cobble that's right at the toe of the slope there that extends a couple feet down into the water. So that way, as the groundwater raises and subsides seasonally, you still have a great shoreline and it prevents erosion. You go to the next slide, Todd. So this final slide, it's a shot from one of our community beaches that provides water access to our residents, even if they have off-water lots. The quarry that we're bringing before you tonight will be no less exceptional than what we have created at River Park. The trademark feature of the quarry are the two lakes that it's centered around, including the largest lake in the city of Star, 60 acres. And for reference, it's 3.5, 4 times larger than the lake at Freedom Park. So it's substantial. The quarry will be a project without any pier and will be a central feature for Star for generations to come. With that, I'll turn it over to Todd, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Todd Tucker with Boise Hunter Homes. Our business address is 923 South Bridgeway Place in Eagle, Idaho. So most of you know this, it might be redundant, but I'll give you a little history of the project. This property was annexed into the city of Idaho, city of Star, back in 2022. The council also approved, as was mentioned, a development agreement for the overall project. And that recorded development agreement has conditions of approval and also a concept development plan, which we are in conformance with. As such, this hearing tonight is to really formalize the preliminary plat that is associated with the previously approved project. As Sean mentioned, the preliminary plat has 228 single-family residential lots, 3 commercial lots, 19 common lots. We're at a density of 1.23 dwelling units per acre, and we have almost 89 acres of open space, which is almost half of the site. Just wanted to run through the previously approved conditions of approval from that development agreement. All of the hard issues really have been, with this project, have been decided by this council. As you can see, we're in agreement with all of the conditions, and just 2 we would like to discuss tonight. And those are the the uses proposed by staff to be prohibited in the commercial area, and another discussion on the requested 5-foot side yard setbacks. So changes that we made to the plan from the original based on the request made by the neighbors. Originally, the plan on the left is the original that was submitted. The one on the right is what's been modified to. We had a through street on the western boundary of the property that extended down to reduce the amount of traffic behind the lots. We terminated that road in a cul-de-sac. Also, originally we had the clubhouse located along the western boundary, and the neighbors did not like that, and so we relocated that more centrally located into the development. And finally, we made all of the lots along the western boundary a minimum of 1 acre in size, and this caused a reduction of about 10 lots in the development because of that. As mentioned, staff is recommending that numerous uses that are identified as allowed with a CUP in the code be prohibited in the commercial area. And we understand that this is a commercial area adjacent to residential. We're requesting that all of the uses that are shown in green be kept as allowed with a CUP. Any concerns with these uses being in close proximity to residences will be mitigated through the CUP process. Conditions can be added to them, and in addition, the council will have an opportunity to weigh in on those uses and conditions to be added. Travis already commented on this, but I just wanted to showcase the great homes and architecture that we provide within our developments. Now, within the city of Star is our River Park Estates subdivision. The lifestyle that we provide has a resort type feel. There's ample room to recreate on the individual residential yards. In addition, there are lakes, the Boise River, a community center with pool, pickleball courts, and ample open space. We've truly created one of the most desirable developments in the Treasure Valley to live. One of the items we discussed at the annexation hearing was our desire for 5-foot side yard setbacks. Our request was not approved at that time, but we were given the ability to have it reconsidered with the preliminary plat. We revised the plat to make the minimum lot size 70 feet wide instead of 65. 5-foot setbacks within this phase of the development will allow us to continue to create great homes we have already constructed within the River Park Estates subdivision located to the east. The streets within the subdivision are a mixture of private and public. Again, this was approved with the development agreement. There will be 2 public streets, Landreth Lane, which is located in the middle, shown in green, and Beaver Lodge and Eagle Roost, which are located near Highway 44, also shown in green, but behind the public meeting room sign, so you can't see it. The highway district is only requiring Landreth Lane to be public, and Star staff is recommending that Beaver Lodge and Eagle Roost be public. Sean mentioned this, but we would like the opportunity for the private streets to become public in the future. This will be decided on a phase-by-phase basis and at the discretion of the developer, obviously with concurrence from the city and HD4. Even though this application is for a preliminary plat, it really is just another phase of the existing River Parks Estates subdivision located to the east, which we also are developing. When we are asking for flexibility in the timing of final platting for this subdivision, the quarry. As such, we are requesting that a condition be added addressing the timing. I've provided what we believe that condition should state. I've provided this statement, this condition also, proposed condition, to Sean, and he's indicated that they are in agreement with the wording of this proposed condition. So again, just wanted to remind the council that this project does have a recorded development agreement. The development agreement has conditions and a concept development plan tied to it. We're in compliance with all of those conditions and the concept development plan. We'd like to thank your staff for working with us on this application. Thank you for your approval, and have provided just a brief summary of the 4 items we are requesting tonight. That is to keep certain identified commercial uses allowed with a CUP, allow a 5-foot side yard setback on all residential lots less than an acre in size, allow flexibility in the timing of the final plat, and allow private streets to become public streets in the future. That concludes my presentation. I can answer any questions that you all might have.
Great. Council have any questions of the applicant at this time? Jennifer, Councilman Nielsen?
Mayor
Councilman
Chadwick,
Nielsen, okay.
that was very quick. You're well under your time. I'd like to go back through and let's look at those things in more detail that you're requesting further discussion on, and let's start to have that discussion so the public can be informed on that and include that in some of the things that they want to talk about.
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Nielsen, definitely. Any specific items that you would like me to hit on first?
I think if we go back to the uses, then we can just move forward. I think most of them, I think that was the first one that we started with, right?
Yeah, so the uses, we understand this is, commercial development next to residential development. So we understand the concerns. And we understand that city staff and council and mayor receive complaints from residents when these certain uses are next to residences. Again, we just think that so we're not recommending or requesting that these items be allowed by right. We're just requesting that they be kept as conditional use permits or allowed with a conditional use permit. So it has to come back before this council for you guys to review it, to analyze it, to consider it. There are conditions that you could add to mitigate any concerns. And again, we're not necessarily saying we desire all of these uses, or we think that we're searching to add these specific businesses. We just want the ability to have them with a conditional use permit, and we can mitigate any of those concerns that the council may have, we think, through that CUP process.
And any particular reason why the ones you've kept in red are in red? Like, for example, mortuary. I mean,
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Nielsen, just, as we discussed it internally as a staff and a developer, we just kind of went through and thought, okay, these are some uses that we probably don't want to see. A mortuary, even though it's probably quiet and doesn't have a whole lot of traffic all of the time, it would sometimes. And this is, the commercial aspect of this development really is the entrance to our development, is the entryway into a very nice, subdivision that we're going to be really proud of. And so, again, we don't want, most of these uses are going to happen inside of a building. We understand that there's going to be parking associated with those. And so, a lot of the area is going, the uses going in there are going to be dictated by the amount of parking and the size of the building going in. So, as we read through them, the ones in red that we said, yeah, we probably are fine with those not being allowed here or being prohibited. The other ones, we think there might be, a place for it. And some of them are kind of not very well defined, like a golf course driving range. This property is not large enough for a golf course, but it is large enough for a mini golf course. And we didn't know if that was included as well. Events and an entertainment facility. Event centers We have one in the same parking lot as our office that is fairly small. The parking is ample for it. They have weddings there, small gatherings, receptions, things like that. We think that that could be a very nice use for this property. It wouldn't definitely not be a large event center. It would be a smaller one, but we think it would be something that could fit there. So some of the uses, a hospital, we didn't know if that included like a medical clinic, like an urgent care. Obviously, you can't build St. Luke's on this property, but we could have a primary care or something along those lines there. So just not knowing exactly all of the definitions that went into them, we just wanted the option to come before you with a conditional use permit for some of these uses.
And so maybe Sean, could you comment from a staff perspective why these uses were originally blocked out and recommended not allowed?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and council members. Yeah, staff's fine with the idea of bringing these back as conditional uses. We're just kind of looking for a starting point and a discussion point on these because again, it is C1. It is adjacent to future residential. There is one residence to the east that we just want to make sure we protect. And so, yeah, it was staff's not against any of these uses really. It was kind of a starting point for discussion.
So I guess the last question on this is for those residences that are adjacent to the commercial areas, what sort of buffering are you planning to include regardless of what businesses go in there?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Nielsen, yeah, there will be, try to find, so there is a road. Ryan showed me how to use this. Let's see if I got it. So these are the commercial lots up here. There is a backage road that goes along there. So there is a buffer of a backage road, landscape buffer on that road between the uses and the residences. Sean is correct. There is a single family residence there. So we would have to, obviously landscape buffer that and adequate setbacks. Now this whole corridor along here is identified in your comprehensive plan as a commercial light industrial corridor. So I think the long-term view is that eventually these properties are going to turn over and they would be commercial as well in the future. And so although it's a residence now and we would need to mitigate and buffer now, in the future when it redevelops, it would be redeveloped as commercial or light industrial. So I think really, and this is a commercial development in Canyon County across the street over here. So it's really the road and the landscaping here, as well as the setbacks that these buildings would have as a buffer, and then any setback and landscaping on the east side.
Okay. That's all I had for that one. Before we move on to my next question, just wonder, does anybody else on the council have questions about this part?
I do. I just need to ask, can you go back to your list again real quick? The recreational, I need to ask Ryan Morgan, the RV dump station, is that something that sewer and water would even allow in our system?
Sewer and water does not allow RV dump stations. Our sewer and water district permit does not allow outside waste, and this is considered outside.
So we might
waste.
just want to make that one a red as not allowed, so it's not even out there to even be considered because they won't even allow it.
Mr. Mayor, yeah,
Okay.
that makes sense. The only reason that one's left on there is because we do have specifically written in the development agreement, we can have an RV park there. I just thought they kind of.
You just got to dump it somewhere else.
You got to dump your stuff somewhere else.
Take it to Middleton.
Makes sense. Sorry.
Sorry,
Mr. Mayor,
right down the street. Yeah.
there have been some that have been constructed in Star recently that is a self-contained unit that they then come and pump and haul other locations.
Okay, that's an option.
So that is an option.
Makes sense.
All right. Okay, thank you. That's all I had. Go ahead, Councilman Nielsen. Sorry.
All right. But I think the next one, well, I can't remember the order they were in. Oh, yep, here we go.
Your favorite topic.
Definitely my favorite topic. So if I understand this correctly, you're increasing the width of the lot from 65 to 70 feet and then requesting a 5-foot setback. So if you're adding 5 feet, why are you requesting a smaller setback?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Nielsen, we went through and made the lots wider with the assumption that we would not be granted this. So we wanted to be prepared for it and allocate for it. But, again, the architecture we have, we feel is very nice. Even though they are closer to each other than the city allows, it doesn't feel that way. It feels more open the way we stagger the homes and the way we have articulation in the roof lines. And so it was really just to be consistent with our existing product that we have in River Park Estates. But to answer your question, the reason we made the lots wider is to be prepared if were not successful in this request. Again,
That was very wise. All right, thank you. All right, go on to the next one.
Councilman Nelson.
Oh, yeah.
So
What?
I have a question regarding that item, the setback. So are we talking about, it's not the properties on that north lake on the west side, it's all the other properties you're requesting this 5-foot setback? Is that
Mr. Mayor,
correct?
Councilmember Samuelson, it'd be every lot that is less than an acre in size. So
Yeah.
not the large lots that are on the lake, not the large lots that are on the western boundary of the development. It would be all of the smaller 70-foot wide lots that we have within the development.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Nielsen?
Yeah, so, all right, so you're requesting, you mentioned a few road names. They're not marked on here. So just to be really clear, the one in green, the name is,
Mr.
Nice.
Mayor, Councilmember Nielsen, this road in the middle is Landreth Lane. And that road, we're in agreement for that to be public at this time. All of the lots or streets in blue were previously approved to be private streets. Your city staff is now requesting that this entrance road down to the backage road be public as well. Again, Highway District's not requiring that. We talked with them last year about that possibility. They said that they, again, this was verbally, that they didn't necessarily want to maintain that small section of roadway. But we would prefer it to be private, but your staff is recommending or requiring it to be public.
So let me I'm going to kind of step in on
Mhm.
that. Part of the reason is we want to make sure that that's a public road. So if we have to create another access with our negotiations with ITD to the east, that we have a public road that goes continuous that direction. I get Highway District 4 doesn't want to maintain it, but that's part of their job, man, of being a highway district for us. They'd have to maintain the whole thing if they were all public streets anyway,
Mhm.
right? So to me, it's not a concern from them. But that's the reason why we were talking about that is having that as a public street in case we have to come in and bring it in for a light or I don't know, I can't remember what they call that light over at Home Depot and Winco in Eagle style light.
oh, yeah.
Mr. Mayor and Council, before you change subjects, the staff had recommended that, my pointer. Staff had recommended that the stub right here, that goes to the west, be, I guess, delayed in the construction to prevent creating a parking lot right there for potential trespassers. And so I don't know if the applicant wants to address that. That would obviously be contingent upon Highway District 4 allowing that, but staff was recommending that stub be landscaped, the right of way still be dedicated, but that stub not be there. Can the applicant address that?
Mr. Mayor, and Sean, we're not opposed to that. It would really be up to Highway District 4 if they're going to allow that to happen. I don't know that we would be opposed to not constructing that section of Landreth Lane over to the western boundary. I don't know that that's an issue for us.
And staff's reasoning for that is that road might never
It will.
that road might never go west. It might never stop or never connect.
So this one, I think we're in agreement with staff on this one because the staff report requests this as well. So we're in a total agreement on this one that in
So-
the future that these could be converted to public.
Yeah, so talk to me about that. Why make them private now? and then request that in the future they could become public?
The review process, the delays that we see from the highway district in the past on reviewing projects, it just really cripples our development plan and our business. And so if they are private streets, then it's reviewed by a third-party agency, reviewed by your city engineer as well, tested. They're all constructed to public street standards. This is the same issue that we went through with our River Park Estates project. We actually constructed all of those roads to public road standards and actually had the highway district inspect them as well so that they could be converted to public in the future. But that's really the main reason, to be honest with you, is it's just delays that we were given from other governmental agencies outside of this city.
Got it. Thank you. All
Okay.
right.
You got more? Councilman Nielsen?
Think that there, what,
Mr. Mayor,
I
that's
think that was it, right?
that was it on that one. The last one is just our proposed condition of approval, allowing us some extended time to develop this property. We have a development agreement in place. We do like to go ahead and get our approvals in place as well. So that's why we're before you now for the preliminary plat. But in all reality, we're probably not going to start developing this until after we finish developing the River Park Estates project to the east of this. However, we may, depending on the market and depending on trends, we may want to start developing this earlier than that. But right now, our business plan shows us not starting to develop the quarry piece until after we've finished all of the development in River Park. So just wanting the ability to not view this as a new project, even though it is a new project, but have it be really an extension of that River Park project, just giving us some more time till we get in and actually develop this property. So again, as I stated, staff seems to be on board with this. I think it, I came to a hearing a couple of weeks ago. There was a lot of concern from the public about the amount of development happening in this area and the timing of it and how it's all happening at once. This may alleviate some of those concerns that this is probably not going, the actual development of this is probably not going to happen for several years. So it's not another 228 units being constructed in the next year or two. It's going to be delayed quite a while.
And I guess just a question for staff on that. We don't often see conditions for the timing. Is there an ordinance that's dictating the timing that requires?
Yeah,
this
so
condition?
the way staff would look at this is just another final plat phase of River Park. So once they get through, let's say, phase 8 of River Park, phase 9 would just be the quarry, and we'll continue it on. This prevents us from having to come back every year, do a time extension.
Got it.
And it really helps the developer with the phasing.
Yep.
We're in complete agreement with the condition.
Okay, thank you.
And Chris, is it better to put it as a condition or open the development agreement and put it in the development agreement, or both, or we're going to do both?
It should definitely be in the preliminary plat because that's what it's phased as.
Yeah, I don't know that one's necessarily better than the other. Sometimes it's nice to have it in the written recorded document, which is the development agreement, so that if the project got sold down the road, that everybody knows where it is and how to find it. You can do it as a condition of approval if you want.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, just for what it's worth, we would prefer it as a condition of approval, just to try to limit the amount of times and reasons why we might have to modify the development agreement.
Are we opening it up at all for this anyway?
We did not submit an application due to that. It would have to be something that happens, I think, in the future to reopen the development agreement. I believe.
I'll let Chris address this. My intention is to now, and we didn't advertise this as a development agreement modification because the application wasn't submitted for that. But staff is recommending that the DA be reopened. Chris is going to let us know if we can do it now or if we have to actually notice it. And if that's the case, we can just bring it
Okay.
back at a future public hearing.
Yeah, Mayor, anytime a development agreement is amended, whether it's at the city's initiation or an applicant's, it has to go through the public hearing process. And so that requires the same notice requirements as any public hearing. And so in the middle of a public hearing to say, oh, we want to do this too, wouldn't really be appropriate. But it can certainly be done, and it just had to be noticed as a new public hearing.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Any further questions, Councilman Nielsen? Councilwoman?
Yes, thank you. All right, I guess if you go back to the streets, a question I had was, so I think in our code it says that the like no cul-de-sac can, like no road can end with a cul-de-sac that is longer than 750 feet. So it's in section, maybe somebody can look it up, 8-6B-2B-4. So it just states it does not allow streets to dead end or have a cul-de-sac for the road to be longer than 750 feet. And so that's our standard. So it looks here that there's a few roads that do end in a cul-de-sac and are longer than 750 feet. I don't know if the waiver, like, doesn't say anything that it can be approved with a waiver or like with council approval. So does that mean that it does not meet our standard?
Mr. Mayor and council, staff has typically addressed that as part of the waiver of the block lengths, and we get approval from the fire district if those cul-de-sacs exceed the 750 feet. And so you do have a review letter from the fire district with no concerns. I'll defer that to Victor, but no concerns were brought up on that distance.
Okay, so no concern with that as long as a waiver. Okay. Let's see. Regarding, oh, okay. So the North Lake, so the properties on the west boundary, so those are large 1 acre lots, and looking at where the property line is, it extends all the way over to the east side on, those properties. So I'm wondering, what type of, like, is there a common law, or where does will those property owners on the east side be able to use their beach? Or is it the west side goes all the way over to the east?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Selmison, yeah, the residents on all sides of the lake would be able to use the lake. You are correct, the lots do, the lake, the northern lake is included within the lots. There'll be a common use easement over them, very similar to what you see to the west of us in the Layton Lakes project. Those lots extend into the lake as well. And so, yeah, we plan on treating these lakes very similar to the ones that we have in River Park Estates, where they'll have beaches on the lake, be able to use the lake. There'll be a common use easement over that property within the lake so that everyone will have access to them, even though it would be owned by those individual lot owners.
Okay. And so is that like a note on the plat, on the preliminary plat, that easement is there? Because like the one on the south, I mean, that lake is designated as a common lot. And so, yeah, just want to make sure that those residents in the north can have access to the whole lake.
Correct. Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Selmison. Yeah, there'll be notes on the final plat addressing that. They'll be written into the CCNRs addressing that. We have fairly lengthy section in the CCNRs that would address who has access to the lakes and be able to use them.
All right. And so like the fishing or the fishing dock, anybody can
Correct.
access it from that point. It
Correct.
looks like, okay. Okay, great. Okay, so the amenities, tons of water sports, it looks like. Is it going to be motorized boats allowed on the large lake, or is it just foot power
Mr. Mayor,
arm.
Councilmember Selmison, I don't know that we've made a final decision on motors or no motors. If they are motors, they would definitely be no wake, like we want them to be, I think, not speedboats around that. But I don't know that we've made a final decision on that yet, but we are cognizant of it. We are aware of that this is a lake that is surrounded by homes. And so we do intend for this to be a recreational area for people to use the lake to fish and paddle board and all the fun stuff that you do on it. And I think we've talked about if motors are allowed, then they need to be restricted.
Okay. And so do we have anything in our code that says that, you know, non-motorized only for ponds or anything? No? Okay. All right. And then, so regarding the amenities, so I see you have a few walking paths, one that is connecting into the Boise River, or two. Is there two actually?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Salmison, there's just the one access right here. Although the green belt down here would continue through our River Park Estates. So it does connect to the green belt we need to build down here, but that would be the one access point to this down here. We also provide walking paths through this little beach area. We have walking paths shown in this area and also walking paths shown in this area, as well as access to the lake from multiple points in the, you know, from the surrounding streets.
Okay. And so I didn't see the walking path like designated on the preliminary plat, but maybe I just missed it. So, especially along the Lawrence Kennedy Canal, did I just miss it possibly, or does it need to be on the preliminary plat, some sort of solid pathway?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Salmison, we didn't designate it on there. We show it and we plan on doing it, but the exact location of that hasn't been nailed down yet because we haven't started development on that yet. So once we actually develop that area and prep it for to be an amenity, then that would kind of be when the decision is made on where the actual pathway is going to make sure it's usable and accessible and in the right location for everyone. So we didn't show it on the preliminary plat. However, again, we have to come back for final plats. And at that point, we'll have the full engineering done on it and we'll know exactly where those paths need to go.
Okay. And the one that connects in with the Boise River, remind me what the river state, what park, sorry, what the name of the neighboring
River
division,
Park Estates.
River Park Estates. So do you have a public easement for like the green belt along the Boise River there, or?
Right, down on the river here, yeah,
Yep.
there's a green belt shown on this plat. We've shown the green belt being down there on the river.
Okay, so that would be a continuation with the public easement included as a condition. Okay. And then I noticed like in your text, like your narrative portion, you talked about the community building, and it didn't say that was like a done deal. Like you're really planning to construct the community center. So I want to, like, if you're counting that as an amenity, then we need to make sure that that's going to be built.
Correct, yeah, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Salmison, that's fine if you want to add a condition that says we have to build a community center. We are planning on doing it as part of our plan. It always has been. We moved it. We showed it in one location. We moved it to another location. We fully intend on building that as an amenity for our residents. If not, we would have shown it as a buildable lot right in that location.
Great. All right. And then let's see what else I have. Oh, so regarding the fencing and around the entire property, like along the west, can we review that information, what you have proposed here, or what the plan is for fencing around the boundary and internally?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Salmison, we don't have any fencing planned right now for that western boundary. we know the residents have requested it and asked for it. We don't have a plan for that right now. As far as internal fencing within the development, it'll be very similar to what we've done in the River Park Estates development to the east of this, just to remain consistent with that.
All right, and what have you done over there?
It is, it's a solid vinyl fence, fairly expensive fence that we have constructed over there on all of the internal lot lines.
Okay, and so will there be a fence on the east property that connects with the River Park?
The residents that, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Samuelson, the residential lots, whoops. You're talking about the east boundary there. Yeah, the rear lot lines to the fences for these residents would be installed when those homes are closed on.
Okay. Yeah, go for it.
Councilman Nielsen?
Thank you. So just to follow up on the western fencing, you said it's not planned. Does that mean that you just haven't thought about it? Or does that mean that, the residents have asked for it, you intend to do it, you just haven't made determinations?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Samuelson, we have not determined whether we are or are not constructing a fence along the western boundary yet.
I think as part of our plans, we require that around all of our projects around the perimeter.
I looked in your code and I could not find it.
So Sean can discuss that and detail that. Our administrator, it's an administration thing. We do it on all the projects that we have in STAR. Not one of them doesn't have that.
Yeah, staff put a recommended condition of approval that a fencing plan be submitted at final plat that shows exactly where the fencing and what types of fencing are going to be part of the development. That the applicant did not submit a fencing plan as part of the application packet. And then again, that's why staff recommends that it be consistent with what was built and approved in River Park.
All right, and I guess one more question regarding the sidewalk. So how, because the streets are private, how are you going to manage like the maintenance and like repair of those sidewalks?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Samuelson, we have, because we have the same situation in River Park Estates, we have a line item built into the CCNRs of annual fees, maintenance fees that are paid into that, so that there is money in the budget when things arise that need to be fixed, that there's money in the budget to be handled. So we've done a cost analysis of how much that needs to be. It's a dollar amount per lot per year that goes into a separate bucket that can be used for maintenance on the roads and the sidewalks.
Okay.
And that, so you're intending to have both this and the other one as the same HOA then? As a single HOA, you're gonna, how are we doing that? As far as, you know what I mean? Is this gonna be, since we're adding it as a continuation of this other, is it gonna be a singular HOA so all the funds are in one pool in case you have a major catastrophe somewhere that has to be fixed?
Mr. Mayor, I don't know that we've gotten that far as determining if we're going to separate the HOAs or not, or have them be, amend or annex the different phases of the quarry into the river park. Either way, there'll be money in the budget for maintenance of the roads.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, can I butt in for just a second again? Regarding the maintenance of the sidewalks, just keep in mind that regardless if these are private or public, Highway District 4 requires all sidewalks in their district to be outside of the right of way. So every subdivision you see, whether with Terramore to the north or Serrano last time, they're in the same boat. The HOA has to provide the maintenance for those sidewalks,
Okay.
regardless if it's private or public.
Right. Okay. I guess I have a couple more questions. So regarding the properties on the north, the 1 acre, the larger lots, are you I believe when we originally approved the annexation piece, you said something about you were trying to make those one story. Is that still, are you still hoping for that? Or I don't know if we had, did we put anything in our development agreement that it was limited to one story on that side?
We did not.
Okay, so you don't have to answer the question then. What? Oh, okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
Councilmember Samuelson, at this point, we are not committing or planning on all of those lots being single story.
Yep.
Some of them may end up being single story. They are fairly wide. They are not very deep lots because of the proximity to the property boundary on the west and the lake on the east. And so we're not prepared to commit to those to be one-story homes, although the buyers may choose that as an option. It was not required in the development agreement, and we're not prepared to commit to that.
Yep, okay. I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Are you sure?
Yep,
Okay.
might butt in later.
All right. Any other questions over here on the west? No. Okay.
Nice.
Thank you, Mr. Todd.
Mayor
All right.
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen. All
sorry.
right, sorry. Councilman Nielsen has one more.
One more since we're on this slide. So those lots with the North Lake, obviously the boundaries of those lots extend into the lake. The owners are buying that portion of the lake. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And so they're then responsible for, how does that work as far as ownership and maintenance and
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember
Accountability.
Nielsen, it'll all be addressed in the CCNRs of the maintenance, the cost, the access. Luckily, we have really bright attorneys that can be creative with how they write that stuff and make sure it's all legal and fair for everyone.
got it? Thank you.
All right. Any further questions of the applicant at this time?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you. All right. We'll move on to public testimony. Remember the timing is up here. Please state your name and address for the record. And I'm just going to I apologize if I butcher your name. Okay. Because I can't read all of them. I'm sorry on that. But I do have Mr. Josh Leonard. If you could come up and state your name and address for the record if you want to speak. Well, you said yes. Okay. So you're in favor. You just don't want to speak. Okay. All right. Gerald Bidos.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of council. I happen to be a new property owner in River Park Estates.
Oh, state your name and address.
Gerald Bidas, property owner of River Park Estates. I can't give you my address because I don't remember it because it's a
It's
brand,
being built.
it's being built. So it'll eventually have one.
It's a 6823 Saddle
Is that, I think that is the correct one.
Red Way is what was
I have to
written down
defer
on
to
here.
the applicant,
Okay, all right.
which house I own. But in the discussion of this, development is inevitable. It is coming. I am not from here, so I am from out of state. I am from Iowa. So Iowa is a little different than Idaho. I live in an area where I can drive 4 miles any direction from my home and not leave a cornfield. So looking for a change of scenery, something that has vistas, mountains, beautiful, and this valley happens to meet our criteria for us. In that case, what I do know is that consistency or the ability to provide a vision to your residents and the ability to provide a mission statement is something that I treasure and I believe it goes a long way in urban planning. In this case, when you have a master developer that moves from phase to phase or development to development, they are responsible for moving that consistency to one side or another side. It's in their best interest to make their developments look and feel the same and carry the quality that they believe they are providing to their home buyers with them. So I know inevitable, this property will develop as you go down, as you go north, as you go south, it will all develop. In my aspect or in my, as a property owner, I would prefer to have Boise Hunter Homes develop the adjacent property because it makes my neighborhood that feel, that look that I bought into, that I invested my hardworking money into, continue around the perimeter. So from my viewpoint, I support the project. I support Boise Hunter Homes building the project because I believe it brings long-term value to me. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And then When I was in the military, everybody thought I was from Iowa when I said Idaho. So it's nice to see somebody from Iowa actually come in Idaho. All right, we're going to move on to Miss Mary, is it Dalvin? Dobbin? Dobbin is correct? Oh, beautiful. Thank you. And
Dobbin,
just to
yeah.
pull that microphone down just a little bit if you don't mind, please.
Oh, like that?
There we go.
Okay. Address is 22020 Blessinger Road. And
And just state your name also, please.
say my name?
Yeah.
Mary Dobbin. And the main issue I have with this development continuing is the fact that it sounds like all the traffic is going to end up on Blessinger Road, which is a small 2-lane road that the stop sign for Blessinger Road goes right into Highway 44, which is 55 miles an hour down State Street Highway 44. And so how are we going to have that many cars come from a stop sign to going 55 miles an hour and avoid the cars that are already going 55 miles an hour? I'm thinking we need some type of a controlled traffic on top of that road before we get more houses. They're talking about doing a light. When is that going to happen?
I will just keep going and if you got more to say, keep saying and I'll answer your question here in a minute.
Okay. And is there and then they're talking about Landreth Lane being a through street. That street is a dead end street that's about this long and goes nowhere. So how are we going to have access, more than one access, if it's just Blessinger and again, over the few months, there's probably 800 additional homes that are going to be built at some time. And then when is the highway district going to catch up? And should we do something first so we don't have people that are in wrecks and are having issues getting onto a fast highway? I know I do when I stop there and try to make a turn and you wait and wait and wait and hope you don't get hit by somebody going that fast. So that's everything I have, and we need additional ways of getting out onto the highway.
Okay, let me answer before you sit down. Now that you're done, let me answer your question real quick. So I know ITD, Highway District 4 and ourselves are asking for a light at Kingsbury, at Blessinger, and at Canada. There will be lights at all three of those locations. Highway District 4 right now is working on a plan to have the development community pay for that light at Blessinger. A previous development is putting a light already in at Kingsbury, and another development is putting a light in at Canada. So it's going to come sooner than later. We just don't know when on that. Landreth Lane is there's a project that was approved a month ago or so, that's continuing east to connect to Bent Lane, which will connect to Canada on there. So those connection points are coming.
So what's the time frame?
I don't know. They're working on the plan. It's going to be in the next couple of years. It'll be done. 2
years, 5 years?
In a couple of years, probably, and probably in 2 years. I would say 2 years because they're working pretty hard on that.
So why can't we stop the development until we get the lights?
Because that's not how it works. It's a great, I'm going to tell
To
you.
me, that makes sense.
Well, but for those of you that, Idaho has never been that way. It's always, the stuff always follows development because development pays impact fees and pays all these things for these functions. It's never come before. And we can't force them to do it before the funding's not there for that. It has to come from the development community. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. We do a proportionate share agreement. Every new house that's built pays $1,000 into it. This widening that was done in front of Albertsons from Canada to Star Road was done by the city through this proportionate share agreement, which is outside of the normal plan of paying for things. And we do that stuff. But the money's got to get there first before we can do it, right? So we're looking at these different options for that.
So
Is that Amanda, Miss Amanda Waller? Is that correct?
Hello, council, mayor. Thank you for having me. So I am sorry, my apologies. My name is Amanda Waller. I will not be stating my address as I'm under your Idaho Victim Protection Program.
Okay.
Thank you. I am, however, a new current resident to River Park Estates. I will give Boise Hunter Homes some credit. They do build absolutely beautiful homes. I love my house, so thank you for that. I am going to play a little bit of the other side of the fence, though. Being a current resident, getting into my own driveway is really difficult because of all the construction traffic. So I would like to understand a plan around how everybody's supposed to navigate in and out of the neighborhoods, especially as all the construction is happening around us. I will piggyback on what Mick said as far as congestion on the traffic. It is really hard to make a left turn out of there right now. And that's just with nobody really coming down in and out of our neighborhood. So yeah, so those are kind of my points to that. It's just making sure that, I get a lot of garbage in my yard currently because of all the construction going on. And I just want that addressed. I want to kind of understand how we plan to control that. And then I also wanted to ask about a traffic impact study before this is actually built out fully, to understand what that impact, those risks, those potential issues actually look like, and mitigating factors and plans to be put in place should something come up that they say, hey, according to this impact study, this is the high, medium, and low piece.
They will answer those questions when they come back up. That's on them.
Okay.
The other part was on me when she was asking those
No
questions.
problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all. Thank
All
you
right,
so much.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Al Dobbin. There you go, sir.
Mayor and Councilman, I'm Albert Dobbin, 2220 Pleasant Deer Lane. And my concern is maybe we better go to the legislature and get things changed, which need to be addressed. And we seem to have a bunch of people like Tammy Nichols and them that have their head in a hole. We need to address it now rather than later, because everything's later. 4 years ago, I stood in front of you guys telling you no, no, no.
Mhm.
Well, we've already had a death at Blessinger on that road. And we hear a siren at least 3 times a day running up and down Highway 44. We need to address the problem. It isn't just keep throwing houses at it. If the developer wants to develop, they're making millions of dollars off their development. Let them step up and pay the piper at first. Don't put them at the end of it. We need to have problems solved. We've done nothing but create what Karcher Road is out there. They've done nothing. Canyon County has done nothing to that road but put turnoffs on it and turn-ons. And they kill people out there. It's one of the worst intersections in the state of Idaho. And these problems need to be addressed by you guys, not by the people. You need to go to the representatives and say, hey, we got to stop it. And that's my biggest complaint. I have nothing against the development. It's great.
So I'm going to ask you to help us. The council, myself, the cities continuously fight with the state and the legislature for funding. And they don't listen. It listens to you guys because you guys vote for them as well. And so we need everybody in the audience to go and ask the legislature to increase the funding to ITD so they can get these projects done quicker, right? That's where the challenge comes on. I fight it every day. Just today I was fighting with this on a different project. So please, I'm asking you as a citizen and everybody in here, go to your legislatures and tell them that we need the funding now for this stuff and have them fund that, because that's what it's going to take, is the citizens to do that.
I mean, because it's a, you know, it's going to get worse. I mean, you got 800 homes going on the north side of 44 with Corey Barton. You got that Serrano. There's another 400 homes. You got the deal back there on Bent Lane. I don't know how many's there. It's 200 there. You got these guys, they were going to be.
Well, you're not even adding in everything Middleton has done, everything Caldwell has done, everything Kenny County has done. It's not just Star.
I
It
know.
is everybody along that corridor from Parma to here that's
Mhm.
creating that challenge down this corridor. And like I said, help us out.
Well, they're
Love
backed
it.
up every morning.
Yep.
To Blessinger. So, I mean, you know, you guys, you're not winning any favors with anybody that's going to be on that side. And then people that moving into these subdivisions aren't going to be happy either because they're crazy. I turned out of there tonight to come to this meeting. There's a turn lane, you know, a speed up lane there. You know how fast I had to go to be with traffic? 65 miles an hour. They see you pull up to that stop sign, they step on the gas down there by the old schoolhouse. I mean, they step on the gas.
I think you've got the right idea to go to the legislature. And truly, that's where this is going to be won, is people going straight to them. They're the ones with the purse, in all honesty. You've got it right. That's the place to argue it. And it's happening here already. But the 5 of us don't change the legislature. The 50 of you have a better shot at it with us.
Well, you turn some of these,
Is the
some of
truth.
these big money boys down a couple of times. You'll see how fast the legislature moves.
It takes you.
It
I
doesn't
promise
change.
you, it
It's
does
true.
not change from the business community,
Yeah.
from development community, from any of those communities. It's the people that vote them in that makes that change. I live this every day. I've lived it all my life
Mayor
with my
Chadwick,
family.
you know, I just want to say that I don't think we can underestimate the effect of what the mayor's talking about. Because we do have these conversations all the time. And quite frankly, I just want you to know, I'm not here to do anybody any favors. You, the developer, anybody. The purpose of these hearings is due process. It's the United States Constitution, Article 5, gives due process for their rights. We don't have a traffic agency here in the city of Star, so we can't make decisions based on that.
Right.
So going to the legislature, I don't know what law you're referring to that we should go and talk to them about, but I would suggest ITD is a good place to start. ITD holds public hearings. ITD has a
We
commission.
get nowhere with them. I've talked to them.
Well,
It's-
But the legislature controls the purse strings for them. That's where we got to it's not just you, it's us. It's all of us together as a collaborative effort to try to get this change done.
Okay, I want to make one suggestion. The Blessinger coming out of their subdivision, it's public, it's private in their subdivision. The stop sign is on Woodruff. They need to put it over on Blessinger and stop traffic right at the top of the hill coming out of the subdivision down onto Blessinger.
Okay. Well,
That stop sign is in the wrong place. It's, and that is a real hazard there. So, I mean, you know, it should be on a private street coming onto a public street, not the other way around. And that would stop a lot of that speeding of the workers over there and stuff like that. Because I've caught them, you know, they just come down out of there like nobody's business.
Okay, we got it noted.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Trace.
Mr. Mayor and Councilman, my name is Trace Layton, 21270 Trigger Ranch Lane. I sent an email into Sean, I believe late last week, that I think you guys probably all saw, so I'm just going to kind of review a couple things on it. My main concern is, and I own property right on Highway 44, and I own property a mile back off Trigger Ranch Lane. Is the egress that will go into this new development on the far west side. It's approximately 550 feet from Trigger Ranch Lane. And tonight when I left here, I kind of did what Al did. And when I left Trigger Ranch, I got on the gas and went into a safe merge spot between traffic. But by the time to merge with traffic, I was doing 65 by the time I hit Hunter's property. And if somebody's coming out of there doing a left turn, I ain't gonna get it stopped. I did talk to Brian Duran at ITD and was supposed to talk to Nikki also, but she's been in training. Brian is the development manager, and he stated that ITD's position will be, they don't have to do anything until it's later on in the process, right in and right out, not only for Hunter, but also for Corey across the highway until streetlights put in. So I would hope that the council would kind of put their recommendation to ITD on that also. Then I'll move on to number two. What I had was, well, on top of that, like I said, Hunter's got two other exits that they can use to get out of their new development, Blessinger Lane and through Star River Ranch, which takes them out onto Bent Lane. Trigger Ranch Lane has one entrance, one exit. The Star Sewer and Water, I think I've kind of got that straightened out after talking to the city engineer, which is also a Star Water and Sewer engineer, and a couple of you or city officials and city employees. And it sounds like I was given misinformation and screwed up and didn't go to Star Sewer and Water. I believe they're in the works of figuring something out. So that's all I'm going to say on that. Hopefully, I just can't believe that Star Sewer and Water doesn't want to put stubs in to extend to the next 800 houses that are going to be built right now. The berm and the landscaping and the privacy fence, those are all things that Boise Hunter has offered up in subdivision meetings or neighborhood meetings, that they would, oh yeah, whatever you want. When they flooded my development a year or so ago, they offered it up then, because they were asking about it at a neighborhood meeting on site. They didn't really answer there. Then they were asked, their employees were asked about it again at the neighborhood meeting they had in Star Fire Department. And they said, yeah, fence, berm, any of that. But I've been told that city policy is that there will be a perimeter fence. And I hope you guys hold them to that, because all the people in my development, we're all in water too, as you can see. And if kids are walking down that path, their paths or their sidewalks there, they could easily just wander over to Layton Lake Estates, and that bank is at a 3%, which is pretty steep, and those kids could roll into those ponds very easily. And for the people that own those ponds, it's a long haul for them to get over there and save somebody by the time they ran around there.
Your time is up late.
Oh,
Sorry.
Okay, I have one more thing. Can I say one more thing?
Real quick.
Okay, so I'm with Al on part of the streetlight deal of Blessinger. I believe when Hunter sold you guys on Riverwalk, they had said they put up 250 grand for a streetlight at Blessinger. Are they putting up, if that's true, are you making them put up another 250? Because I don't believe that all the citizens should have to pay for new streetlights, because we're not the new ones moving in. I think it should be an impact fee. I know that's nothing you guys deal with, but I'm just asking the question or putting a thought in your head that if that's true, they put 250 for that first development, they should put 250 up for that.
Highway District 4 is working on the plan for that.
Okay.
Just so you're aware. I don't know exactly what's going to transpire from that plan.
Perfect.
Crosswest, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Lost my sheet, sorry. Let's see. Miss Amanda Nichols?
Hi, Amanda Nichols, 21664 Trigger Ranch Lane. I am representing the Layton Lakes Estates HOA today. I believe we sent in an email earlier this week, but I just wanted to reiterate some of the points. Mr. Layton just mentioned the right in, right out on the access to 44. Our entrance is very close to that. He already talked about the sewer and water, but we do also want to reiterate the fence on the west side. As you can see, some of the property is right on our lake. So it's really important to us that there is a fence there, as Mr. Layton stated as well. We also wanted to reiterate that the Landreth Lane paving and sidewalks stop at the intersection of Landreth and Saddlebred Way. If it continues on the property line of Layton Lakes Estate subdivision, we feel it will just create a parking spot for non-residents to park and trespass on other property to fish in both developments, private ponds, along with interfering with the irrigation districts, ditch rider access to patrol the ditches. This area needs to be landscaped and irrigated until the time Landreth Lane is extended. I also wanted to bring up a couple other things. It was already represented to us by Boise Hunter Homes that there would be no motorboats on their lake, so I'd like you guys to address that again. We also want to address the building of the community center, so there is somewhere for those people to go and use on their lake. And then just reiterate that an RV park would just bring transients and other people into the community. And again, there's nowhere for them to be dumping. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you. All right, see Mr. Jeff Harith? Sorry. You spell your last name for me?
Herrera, Herrera.
Okay, thank you.
I'm on Trigger Ranch Lane as well. And
Just state your full address for,
22244 Trigger Ranch Lane.
all right, thank you.
I'm kind of reiterating a lot of what Trace said and Mrs. Nichols, but the RV park and or dump station, reiterating what she said, having the public come for an RV park and hanging out there and looking for something to do at night kind of gives them the opportunity to wander. Especially if things aren't properly fenced, they can wander over into our lakes, which creates a liability for us with kids messing around, perhaps drowning, whatever it might be. So we want that to be addressed. And then there's a long list of things there for the CUP that they had. And I mean, if we want to do what's best for the neighborhood, I think a lot of those don't fall in that category. I wrote some food processing, I could smell, gas station, fabrication shop where there's noise, vehicle repair, and some of these other things. They had car wash. I don't know that we need another car wash. And then the last one was multiple family residences. You know, we have all these houses coming in, already have a problem with too many people. I don't know that we want to have an apartment building as well. And then the last thing was to just have a question on the impact fees. I know we have the Star Fire coming up, that levy. Is there anything related to this development where they would pay into that, or?
Yeah, so this development, anybody within the Star Fire District pays towards the levy. Any new development in the Star Fire District pays an impact fee that's only used for buildings. It cannot be used for personnel. State statute doesn't allow that.
Okay,
So just so you're fully aware of that. Yep.
that was my question. Thank you.
Is that it? All right, thank you, sir. All right. Todd, your turn.
Mr. Mayor and council, I'll try to go quick with my portion of the rebuttal, and then Jeff Leonard will come up to answer some questions as well. So as far as Ms. Dobbins' comments on traffic, so Landreth Lane does end now and is a small section. I think you've already addressed this. In the Serrano Estates project that was just approved, it is being extended in that. It is also being extended on the east and the west within our development. Another piece of property in between us and River Park Estates and the quarry on the north, it extends through that. So whenever that property is developed. So you're correct, or she's correct. It is a very small segment now, but that's how development works. And that's how planning happens, is when those projects are developed, it'll be extended. Development does pay for and install all of the road infrastructure. That's why you get it kind of piecemeal, is because the developers are the one that build the roads and install the roads. And it happens when development happens. As far as Ms. Waller, as far as addressing the garbage being blown around, we will have a discussion, not me, but someone will have a discussion with our supers out there, probably tomorrow morning, about making sure that's better taken care of. We apologize for that. She mentioned a traffic impact study. We did complete a traffic impact study that's been submitted to ITD and the Highway District for their review. They've accepted it. And so we're just waiting on final comments from ITD at this point. Just this morning, Sean, was it, or was it yesterday afternoon? We got the comments from HD4, final approval from HD4. I think it came in this morning. Just still waiting on comments from ITD. Mr. Dobbin, as far as stepping up, developers needing to step up to pay, I feel we do step up and pay. Again, as I mentioned before, all the road infrastructure is pretty much installed and paid for by developers. That's how it happens, is we are the ones that build it. Just wanted to also mention on the acceleration lane that he mentioned on Highway 44 at Blessinger. We put that in on our own dime, not being required to install that by ITD or HD4. We put that in because we had concerns about safety as well. And so we did that without anyone telling us we had to do it because we felt that it was important to do. So that is improvements. We also put in the deceleration or the turn lane on Highway 44 into Blessinger ahead of the development happening. So we constructed those two things to try to make it safer in the area without being required to do so. Let's see. As far as Mr. Layton's comments, I think Josh is going to address those. Let's see, Ms. Nichols, the same comments as Trace. As far as, she mentioned again, the Landreth Lane not being extended to the west boundary. I think we've indicated we're good with that. We're okay with that. As far as impact fees go, Mr. Herrera, we pay impact fees, or the residents pay the impact fees. We pay them at building permits come in. So again, we have addressed, again, I just wanted to reiterate that there is a development agreement that was approved on this project. It has conditions of approval. It had or has a development layout, a conceptual plan with it. We are following that conceptual layout to a T, and we are complying with all of the conditions of approval from the development agreement. And so I'll let Josh Leonard come up and address some of the other.
Just real quick, I just want to ask a question that hasn't been brought up yet, but right down here, do you have an access easement for their property?
Mr. Mayor, yes, there's an existing recorded access easement for their property, and that will remain in place until such time as those roads are constructed. And when they do, they will continue to have an access easement. Even though the roads are private, it'll be just like River Park, where we have an access easement for the public to be able to use them, and they will be able to continue to have access to their property down there.
Thank you. All right.
Sean, could you pull up our rebuttal slides?
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, Josh Leonard, PO Box 639, Boise. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. As Todd noted during his presentation, we've already made some substantial concessions to neighbors. These concessions were memorialized in the development agreement that was agreed to in 2022. One of those is the cul-de-sac that's to the northwest road so that it dead ends and doesn't take as much vehicle traffic behind the properties to the west. We also created 1 acre lots along the western boundary of the development to better buffer those existing parcels that are to the southwest. And then we also moved the clubhouse from the western boundary of the development to the center of the development. In terms of the land use approvals for this project, the heavy lifting was done in 2022 when the development agreement was negotiated and when those conditions were entered and memorialized. As far as the additional neighbor comments, access to Highway 44 to be right in, right out, that's an ITD controlled issue. And obviously we're going to comply with whatever ITD tells us we need to do there with regard to access in and out. Provide the 4 sewer and water stubs. It sounds from Mr. Layton's testimony that he's gotten that worked out and understands that Star Sewer and Water is going to be requiring that or some measure of that. Probably not all 4 of those, and probably not to the property line, but that'll be worked out in construction drawings. As far as installing a berm and fence along the 4 residential lots in the southwest corner of the project, the first point I want to make here is that there is no need for a berm there. These are single-family homes that are going to back up onto single-family homes. It's not that we're going to have incompatible land uses there that need a large berm for a buffer. The interface between those properties is going to be backyard to backyard, which is compatible. And second, the question of the berm has already been decided. The detailed concept plan was already approved in the 2022 development agreement. In October of 2022, that's Exhibit B to that development agreement, and it does not include a berm at that location. They also wanted the project developer to construct a berm and fence along the entire western property line. In addition to the arguments I just raised, the fact that there's no need for a berm and the fact that the berm question was already resolved with that 2022 development agreement. In this instance, along the western side of the property, there's just no room for a berm. It's just an impossibility. And as mentioned before, the concept plan that was approved with the development agreement doesn't include a berm there.
How about the fence?
The fence is from what I heard from you, Mr. Mayor, it sounds like the fence is a requirement.
Is a
of the city.
requirement. Okay,
We'd
good.
obviously prefer not to do that. What we would like to do, and the neighbors will hate hearing it, but we'd like to share that cost with them. But if the
It's a requirement of the development. We've always done it that way for every development in the city of Star. So it's going to be, unfortunately, it's going to be on the developer to put that fence along that fence line.
Understood. That's what
Yeah.
I understood, Mr.
Yeah.
Mayor, your comments to be earlier and from Mr. Nickel. I can tell you that in reviewing the city code, couldn't find the boundary fence anywhere in city code. It might be a good idea to update that so the developers know that coming in.
But thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You don't want to hear me go off on you on that here in a minute, but it is covered in our code based on what Sean showed us earlier today on that, as far as an administrative a requirement on there. So he can show it to you later, but it is going to be a requirement on the project.
Okay, appreciate that, Mr. Mayor. As far as a cross access to that northernmost property, that 22444 Trigger Ranch Lane, the city is requiring that street to be public, and if the street's public, it's going to be under the jurisdiction of Highway District 4, which will determine whether or not to allow access to the road from that property. Also, like the berms, that issue has already been decided. There's no cross access shown on the concept plan that was approved in 2022, and our preliminary plat application complies with that concept plan, so it's entitled to approval. The last thing I wanted to cover is stopping the pavement on Landreth Lane. That was a request that was made by a couple of people here tonight, and we don't have a problem with that. With that said, that is under the jurisdiction of Highway District 4, and we'll comply with what they require from us there.
Okay.
The last thing I'd like to hit on just really quickly is to remind the mayor and council that we would like that flexibility to be included in our development plan and in our phasing. So we'd ask that a motion to approve be included, or a motion to approve include that flexibility and the ability to phase this as the last or the subsequent phase from our neighboring development.
Okay.
That would stand for questions.
Any questions of the applicant? Councilman Nielsen?
Yeah, so one of the, let's see, it was Ms. Nichols wanted you to address the motorized boats. Seems like you represented that those would not be part of this during neighborhood meetings. So if you could address that, please.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Nielsen. So we haven't, our thought on the motorized boats It's a large lake and we are going to allow boats to use it. We have not considered whether it's going to be electric motors or combustion motors with a speed limit. I believe the neighbors to the west use their lakes for jet skis, wakeboard boats, things like that, et cetera. We're going to be as concerned with boat traffic and noise for our residents for the sales of all the lots as anybody else is. So we hadn't memorialized specifically what the restriction's going to be, but it's probably going to be mindful for the majority to aid with home sales.
And can you talk about what you represented to them at the neighborhood meeting?
I didn't represent anything to anybody at neighborhood meeting.
Guys,
But
let's
if it
listen.
was,
Hang on a sec, Trev. We're not doing this. He's got the floor. The question's here. This is not back chatter talk or any of that kind of stuff, please. Okay, we're gonna keep it as professional as we can. Okay, go ahead.
I think you answered the question. That's all, Mayor Chadwick.
Okay. Any further questions of the applicant? Councilwoman?
Yeah, thank you. Can we bring up that last slide that had the, I just wanted to ask about number 3 on there. So construct a berm and privacy fence on the 4 residential lots. So what 4 lots?
Sean,
Does
can you
that-
go back to the main presentations or pull up a depiction, our colored layout?
Yeah.
And just to add on to her question, before you move it, Sean, number 5, the cross-access agreement, that was not brought up as part of anybody's testimony, public testimony. So I'm not sure, I'm confused as to why this is a rebuttal, and I don't know that that was addressed in your presentation. So maybe you could go into that and why it's important.
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Nielsen, that was included in Mr. Layton's letter that he submitted wanting access to that specific property from Eagle Roost Lane. And that would be, sorry. Your little thing's not working anymore. I'll use this. So what he's talking about is he owns this piece of property here. He wanted access onto this road, onto Eagle Roost. That's this road right here. If this road ends up being a public road, then, and he abuts it, then that would be an issue for Highway District 4 to grant him a curb cut permit onto that road if it's a public road. The 4 lots that are mentioned are Mr. Layton wanted a berm and a fence constructed along these 4 lots right here. And as Josh indicated, these are 1 acre residential lots that back up to platted residential lots. So we have backyards to backyards. There's really no need for a berm. It would be different if these were incompatible uses or something need to be mitigated, but the backyard of a residential lot to a backyard of a residential lot, there's no warrant for a berm in that location.
All right. But fence, we will do.
Sounds like a fence is going to be required.
Yep, okay.
Sean, did you have something to say there real quick?
I just wanted to address the right of way and the access on that north public road. If that road does become public, staff is supportive of having a cross access. We do not want to create another Seneca Springs Taurus situation where we have a spite strip. And so at the time of final plat, we'll review that to make sure that if it is public, there's not a common lot that prevents access. And then Highway District 4 would be responsible for approving any access points. At that
Do we need to build it?
we can make it a condition that access be provided if it's a public road.
All right. Thank you. Sorry, Miss Councilwoman, did you have a?
Yeah, sure. So regarding the frontage on Highway 44, so with the commercial, I know that's long, it could be a long ways down the line, but regarding weeds or just cleanup, you got a plan for that, what you're going to do until that property is developed? And is there any road improvements along that section that is required right now? Or no?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Salmison, we've actually been in contact with a dandelion farmer, and I'm just messing with you.
A dandelion?
So we will comply with the city codes and make sure all of the weeds are knocked down and we're in compliance with the weed abatement codes of the city of Star. At this point, we do not have any requirements to improve Highway 44. That will obviously come when we develop those properties, or when those commercial properties are developed, is when those improvements on Highway 44 would come into play.
Okay.
Anything further?
No,
No,
thank you.
Councilman Wheelock? Councilman Hershey, any questions there or comments? Okay, Councilman Nielsen, did you? Okay. All right. Councilman Nielsen, or Councilwoman, so almost anything further before I close it? Okay, it's 8:40. I'm going to close the public hearing, and we're going to move the council deliberations on this project. Somebody start it?
Well,
Go ahead.
I mean, the project that we have here, this preliminary plat, looks very similar to the concept plan that we were presented with. And, you know, there were a few changes. I am in support, I think, of those uses for commercial, with the exception of the dump station that the applicant was requesting to make those all conditional use. So they would come in front of us still. It's not just allowing them, but we would still have that, you know, final approval, whether or not it's allowed. Let's see. You know, personally, I'm not a fan of the private streets, but it was already approved with the private streets, so we can't do anything about that. You know, it does have the, 2, 3 public streets. It sounds like, you know, that connection into Landruff, you know, that is going to be a collector road. We have it designated on our eCamp map as it is built out, that Landruff Road. And so I think that makes sense. Let's see, I'm excited about the Boise River Greenbelt connection. I think the housing, you know, they look like great houses. Extension of the neighboring River Park estates, I think will be a nice extension. And I think that's all I will say for right now.
Okay. Any further comments?
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen?
So interested in your thoughts on the RV dump station. I mean, we've already approved an RV site. It's kind of up to Star Sewer and Water, whether or not a dump station goes in. And I might recommend that we not do anything to restrict that in the event that, and I know it's not likely to happen, but in the event that it does, if an RV park is there and that were to become an opportunity in the future, I would suggest that we not exclude that.
At a minimum, CUP it.
Right.
Yeah, right. And so if we say not allowed, I mean, they cannot come back to us no matter what and request that, correct?
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that I'd be fine with that.
Okay.
But I guess beyond that, you know, I find that the quarry at River Park application is broadly consistent with the comprehensive plans, the state urban residential designation and commercial corridor guidelines. I don't find any major inconsistencies or significant inconsistencies with the private roads, as long as, you know, I think we've addressed those things. And I guess I'd just like to go through a number of conditions that I've noted and start to compile that list. Anticipating a motion to approve. So what I've noted here for conditions is that the western part of Landriff Lane not be constructed at this time, as long as the highway district agrees with that. Obviously, that's their jurisdiction, but we'd like to request that the applicant make every effort to get the highway district to agree to that, and certainly would direct staff to assist in that as needed.
And maintain a easement
Yes,
for road.
maintain an easement for that future road. Agree with the private streets now. Understand the reasons why you're asking them. I would like a condition to be that those private streets do convert into public at some point, not just an if, but a when. Also agree to the condition that the first plat for this project will not be required until 1 year after the recording of the last final plat for River Park Estates. I know there was more language than that presented tonight, and if that language is pertinent, we can include the whole thing, but that's what I'm thinking here. The Star Fire District listed a number of conditions of approval. I'd like to include all of the conditions of approval from Star Fire District, which I'll identify that condition 2.1, single family setbacks are 7.5 feet per city code, and that we maintain that standard in our city code for this project. The pathways would be constructed as discussed. I know Councilwoman Salmonson, you discussed some along the Lawrence Kennedy Canal. No, we don't have a plan yet, but I guess the condition would be that the STAR pathway plan would be followed for this application. The community center will be built as an amenity. I know the applicant has represented that they will do that. I have every reason to believe that you will. But I know there's some concern here tonight. And so since you intend to, no harm in making that a condition of approval so that it's on the paper as well. Condition of approval. I know it'll be an administrative ad later on, but fencing along the entire western border and really fencing along the subdivision. Now, I am open to consideration of fencing that's on that eastern part of property you already own, of leaving that open and available to what you want to do versus having an administrative directive. I'd be interested in staff and other comments along that, but those are my thoughts. And then the last one I have note of here is that is the name of that street Roost Lane, or what was the name? Eagle Roost Lane. Thank you. That if and when that street becomes public, that cross access would be provided.
Okay. Any further comments? Sean, actually, hang on. Sean, you got something?
Just
He's
want
pointing his
to,
finger at me.
I'll wait till after everyone else
Okay.
puts in their conditions, and then we'll go back and.
Councilman Wheelock?
You know, I've been pretty quiet, but I'm just supportive of the widening of the lots, the 7.5 foot setbacks. I think the houses look great, but they look great 5 feet farther apart too, in my opinion. So I'm happy that that's a part of it. I'm great with the fences around the extremities, but I'm also open to the conversation of it in between their properties. They've talked about blending them and just having this be an extension of your other subdivision, which I'm fine with that discussion to be had. I do like the roads going public at some point. We accepted the private side to help mitigate the HD4 slowdown originally, and hearing the challenges that a public and a private street have coexisting, I would look to see them all public at some point. So I would be supportive of that. Where I'm at. Other than that,
Okay, Councilman Hershey?
I would just be repeating. I'm very much in favor after the changes.
All right,
And I also believe we should allow whatever fencing they want between their own properties. I think we just say it basically that way.
okay. Council, anybody want to make a motion or any further discuss? Oh, Sean? Get my finger back. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor and Council, just, I have all those conditions that I want I want to make sure we're clear on the type of fencing on that western boundary. Staff suggests consistent with what has already been built in River Park.
Match what's on the exterior, on the boundary already that's been established, right? What
It's
you're saying?
consistent with what, yeah, just want to make sure we've got that. And
Okay.
then the last one is, does council intend to have the applicant modify the development agreement? If so, we can bring that back at a later date.
I guess I would ask, do any of these conditions require a modification to the development agreement? Because my intent is that whatever documentation is appropriate, that we take the steps to make sure that it's properly documented and recorded.
Chris? Do we have to do, should we do a development agreement modification or are the conditions okay?
Well, the conditions are, I think the conditions are fine. You could also, the city could initiate the development agreement down the road just to have that public hearing and put all these conditions in it. I don't know that I would hold up your decision tonight for a future public hearing to do a development modification that's just going to mirror what the decision is today. But like we mentioned before, it's nice to have it in a development agreement so that if the project sells to somebody else, it's all written down in a document that they're going to see when they do a title report and all those kind of things. So, but as for tonight, I think we're fine with conditions of approval.
Okay. So we can always initiate it later
Correct.
without making as part of our motion tonight? Is that what you're saying or?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you can make it part of the motion tonight and say, so the city's council is saying, we want to notice this up for a public hearing to amend the development agreement to include these conditions, and that's totally fine as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen?
I just want to make sure I understand your advice on this, Chris. That we make it a condition of approval that the applicant agrees to open that development agreement and add these things into it. Is that what you're saying?
We can't, so a development agreement, as we know, it's a contract, so it's negotiated. We can't just force the amendment to the development agreement. The way I'm looking at it is this would be a city initiated amendment to the development agreement to include conditions of approval that the city council is going to adopt tonight. Once those conditions of approval are in place, they're there, right? Those aren't going to change unless there's an appeal, by the applicant or something that they don't want them and they ask for reconsideration or something. But once the conditions of approval are adopted, they're in place. So at some point in the future, the city would notice the public hearing. The developer could certainly come back and testify for or against. But I don't imagine that kind of a public hearing is going to do much because all we're doing is, quote unquote, codifying what we're doing tonight.
Got it. I just want to make sure that you weren't suggesting we add another condition.
Oh, no, I don't think you need another condition
Okay.
tonight. I would say at the mayor's question, I think you could make it a condition that you're going to approve all this subject to a change to the development agreement or that the city is going to go through that process, but I do not think that's required. You can do that on your own whenever you choose.
Got it. Thanks.
All right. Anybody want to make a motion?
Mayor Chadwick, I will make a motion to approve with all of the conditions as we've discussed. You want me to list them again? Sean, do you feel like you got them? I've also got notes here that I'll provide. So that's my motion.
Okay, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We got a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Hershey.
Aye.
Wheelock.
Aye.
Selmanson.
Aye.
Nielsen.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. All right, we're going to take a 5-minute recess here for facilities and for people to leave if they choose, and we'll reconvene at 9. We're good? All right, it's 9:01, and we're going to continue our city council meeting tonight. We're going to move on to, lost my sheet here. You guys have your sheet? I got it wrapped up. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. We're going to move on to item 5B, the Hacienda de Estrella subdivision plan unit development. I need Sean back because he is going to. Hey, will you run out and get Sean for me? Somebody, please. Thank you. Thank you, Chief. He's the one that's got to present the staff report on that. It is 9:01 and we're going to or 9:02, we're going to open the public hearing. I'm going to ask the council if they have any ex parte contact or communication regarding this project.
No.
No. None?
Nope.
Sean, you're up. Hacienda. Thank you. We're going to turn the time over to Sean to present the project.
Sorry about that. I was looking for our city engineer. Someone had a question. Mr. Mayor, council, give me just a second to pull up this. Okay. Mr. Mayor and council, the next public hearing you have before you is the Hacienda de Estrella subdivision. It is a planned unit development, a development agreement modification, and a preliminary plat. The applicant is requesting a planned unit development and a development agreement modification. The development and the plat. The development consists of the PUD with attached townhomes, live work units, and commercial uses on 14.24 acres. Included in that is 38 attached residential lots, 8 live work units on individual lots as well, and 5 commercial lots. Residential density of the property is 2.66 dwelling units per acre. Council did approve the Grace Assisted Living Facility back in 2021 with commercial and residential uses, and I did include that original concept plan in your packet. Staff has reviewed the application requirements for submittal, agency transmittals, legal noticing, and site posting. Those all have been completed as per the Unified Development Code requirements. The application was also reviewed for compliance with the Unified Development Code and the City Comprehensive Plan. The Comprehensive Plan land use designates this property as commercial and commercial industrial corridor. The PUD submitted allows for up to 25% of a non-commercial uses within a commercial zone property. Again, this is very similar to what was approved with the Grace Assisted Living, which had the assisted living and the residential component on the south side of the property. You do have 2 late exhibits, the updated landscape plan that includes the detached sidewalks that staff recommended, and the updated townhome elevations. Items for special consideration include a waiver of the side yard setbacks to 5 feet for the townhomes. What that would do is that would provide 10 feet between the buildings, and Fire District review is supportive of that with the condition that no fencing be allowed between the buildings to provide fire access protection. You also have in your staff report suggested conditions of approval for the approved commercial uses, and a shared parking agreement and cross-access easement is requested by staff as a condition of approval. Staff is recommending approval of this application with the recommended conditions and any conditions that the council puts on the project. Property is on the southwest corner of Bent Lane and Highway 44. This is the updated concept plan and landscape plan showing the street trees that meet code requirement and the detached sidewalks. Again, for reference, this is that West Star area plan showing the hacienda development there on the northeast corner of that development area. These are the updated elevations that the applicant has provided for the attached townhomes. And these are the elevation concepts for the live work product in the development. That's staff stands for questions.
Any questions of staff at this time? You have a question? Councilman Wheelock has a question of you, Sean.
Yes, sir.
Where are your live work going? Are they the ones on the Bent Lane?
Yes, the live work would be these 8 units or 8 lots right here. The rest of them are the attached, and then when I say attached, they're attached 2 at a time. So they're 2 attached townhomes, individually owned and for sale.
Okay. Any further questions? Do you have anyone?
Nope. Thank you.
Any further questions of staff at this time? Okay, hearing none. Is it Becky that's doing the presentation? Ms. Becky, can you please come up here and state your name and address, please, for the record?
My name is Becky Izagiri. My address is 1368 West Meadowdale Drive, Boise, Idaho 83713. All right, so I'm here to present applications for preliminary plat with a plan unit development and development agreement for Hacienda de Estrella subdivision. The project is located just, we go. The project is located just south of Highway 44 in Bent Lane. To the west lies the recently approved Serrano Estates subdivision. To the south are some county properties, and then just south of that is the Legato subdivision. So as Sean stated, the comprehensive plan and future land use map designate this area as commercial. We intend to keep this designation. So the site is already annexed into the city with the zoning designation of C2 PUD with the DA. This application will also stick with the existing zoning designation. Hacienda de Estrella subdivision is a 14-acre mixed-use development featuring 5 commercial lots, 8 live-work lots, and 38 individually platted single-family attached lots. The project has a gross residential density of 3 units per acre and includes 2.85 acres or 20% of qualified open space. Each residential lot will include a 2-car garage and driveway. We're providing a 16 stall parking lot and 13 on-street parking spaces. Additionally, the commercial lots will have shared parking easement, which will guarantee parking throughout the entire development. So I'm going to go through this in a little more detail. We're proposing 4 commercial lots that will front Highway 44, and then there will be 1 on the interior of the development there. Just south of the commercial lots, we're proposing 38 single-family attached homes with an average lot size of 2,929 square feet. Each home will be individually platted and sold. They'll share 1 common wall and include a 2-car garage and driveway. So here's some renderings that Sean had showed earlier. So you can see here we're incorporating architectural elements as far as like pop outs and different material types and porches. We actually built this project in Cascade, Idaho. Here you can kind of see how it takes shape in the real world. Here are the interiors of those homes. So these will be 2 and 3 bedroom homes. They'll have a spacious kitchen, large bedrooms, walk-in closets, stainless steel appliances, and a fireplace. So lastly, we're proposing those 8 live-work lots that will front Bent Lane. Those lots will be individually platted and sold with an average lot size of 2,718 square feet. So here are the renderings for the work product. So the image to the left will front Bent Lane, and the image to the right, boxed in red there, will depict the rear of these units. So here's a rough kind of sketch of what we think that these units will look like inside. The workspace will be on the ground floor facing Bent Lane. Then there'll be a 2-car garage behind that. And then there'll be a bathroom and some stairs separating the two spaces. The second floor is where the living space starts. This floor will have a kitchen, bathroom, living area with a deck facing Bent Lane. The third floor will have a master bed and 2 additional bathrooms and bedrooms. So the landscaping we're proposing will have 6 common lots with a 20% qualifying open space. The amenities include a covered picnic area, benches, a playground, and a sand volleyball court. As you can see, this development is pretty heavily treed, so we're providing tons of shade and shelter. So this morning we have received kind of a request to detach a majority of the sidewalks. So as shown here, the purple lines indicate the sidewalks that will be detached, and the yellow show the sections that will remain attached. All detached sidewalks will be tree lined in the parkway strip. This development proposes constructing 5 new local roads with full access on Landreth and a right in and right out at the intersection of Bent and Alpha. All newly built local streets will have a 50-foot right-of-way, including a mix of attached and detached sidewalks. Bent Lane is classified as a collector and will only receive improvements to the center line. Bent Lane includes a 7-foot detached sidewalk and an 8-foot landscape buffer. Landreth Lane will include a 7-foot detached sidewalk, a 3-foot landscape buffer, and a 5-foot bike lane. I just kind of want to note also that Landreth will also make that connection with the recently approved Serrano Estates. So hopefully that alleviates some traffic there. This development will connect to an existing water stub at Bent Lane and Landreth. As for sewer, the Serrano Estates will stub a sewer and water to the south corner of the development, which will sewer our development. For PI, the development will connect to an existing line on the northwest corner of the property and at the intersection of Bent and Alpha. All stormwater will be retained on site using stormwater retention facilities. These areas will be minimally sloped with grass on the bottom. And in closing, we have designed this development to seamlessly integrate with the newly approved Serrano Estates subdivision. The proposed commercial areas connect directly to the approved commercial component within Serrano Estates, creating a cohesive and continuous mixed-use corridor. Additionally, the single-family attached homes we're proposing are compatible in scale and design with the townhomes in Serrano Estates. This ensures a smooth transition across both developments. Thank you, and I'll stand for some questions.
All right, anybody got questions for Miss Becky? I do have one question though for you, Miss Becky, real quick. Now, is there a cross access, did you say, is there a cross access easement right here to allow?
Yes, so there is a cross access easement there. We're not showing it. I think
Right, right here
Serrano,
between
yeah.
these two.
So that landscape plan's not showing, it, but it does show it on our pre-plat.
Like pretty flat, okay. All right, so they'll be able to go back and forth between those commercial areas there. All right, thank you.
And is it using that existing road, just drawn differently?
Yes, exactly. So when they, let me see how I can use that pointer. There we go. So it'll be right in here. So we'll just kind of cut that out and just extend it to this area right here. Yeah.
Okay. Question?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Wheelock?
So on this 5th, 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 5th,
what kind of residential business are you suggesting goes into the middle of those houses back to back with them?
We don't have a buyer for those commercial lots yet.
Are you willing to look at the options of restricting that to a neighborhood commercial rather than a full C1?
As of right now, I don't know.
You
Yeah.
can-
Yep.
Okay.
I'm getting a
So you're-
head shake, yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, just, and my other question, I'm a big proponent of the 7.5 foot side yards still. Or does this end up working if we say no for the set to the 7.5 to a 5 foot setback?
Yeah, the development is really tight. You know, we're only on 14 acres. And so the 5 foot, the 10 total, would allow this development to happen. It's also a more efficient use of the space. We have fire approval on 10-foot interior setbacks. And we can get Victor up here to talk about that as
Oh,
well.
I understand fire has approved it, but as a city council, for me, I like the wider, more open space that the 7.5 has provided for us. Whether it's fire approved or not.
Sure.
So I was just curious what that looked like if we said no to you.
Sure. With all due respect, this is a more tighter development. That's how it's kind of designed in this area, especially with the commercial. They're being just north of us. So traditionally those townhomes would want a tighter interior setback than your single family.
Thank you.
Right. Any further questions of Ms. Becky at this time? Councilman Nielsen? Solomon?
Sure. One question. So the sand volleyball court, I see it's in a drainage area. And so is there any issue, like, I guess, is it flat or is it kind of curved? And trying to picture what this looks like.
Yeah. So it is a very, I don't know if I can. You can kind of see the drainage area is fairly large. So we're just putting it right in there. We worked it out with Ryan Morgan to where we can make an amenity. Usually those drainage areas are just kind of no man's land. And so we would like to put an amenity in those areas and sand, as you know, drain. So we just thought it would be an efficient use of space instead of just having bare glass. Yeah.
All right. And our engineer didn't have any issue with it.
Nope. And if it floods, you got a beach.
That's actually, you see that quite a bit throughout the valley. You put a little depression in there. I've seen soccer fields, I've seen football fields. This isn't big enough for one of those, so a sand volleyball court does make some sense in there.
Okay.
That's all I got. Thank you.
All right. Any further questions, applicant, at this time? All right. Thank you, Ms. Becky. All right. We'll move on to Mr. Burnett.
Ryan Burnett, 1125 West Two Rivers Lane, Eagle, Idaho. Mayor, council members, I'm one of the developers on this project. I just want to say we tried to take into consideration the plat you guys approved tonight, neighbors, getting this Landreth lane built for safety at the intersection of Blessinger to be able to exit these people eventually onto Bent Lane and then down to Canada, which I do own that neighboring parcel to this, and that will probably go under development pretty soon. So in the consideration of the density and the commercial zoning and taking these setbacks to 10 feet, which I think, even my house is 10 feet off the neighbors for this townhouse type product, it is kind of impactful to make this project work. We're trying to create something in Star, which I think you guys have had success with the work, live, and a little bit more affordable with the prices and materials and tariffs and everything where they're going, we're trying to make this a little bit more affordable. So hopefully some younger people can live close to this commercial. By taking those setbacks away, you're going to lose 5 or 6 units. We have to spread it across the cost of the development, and then everything gets more expensive. So I hope that you will take that into consideration, and the impacts and cost associated with building these major road corridors to funnel traffic through Star. So that's kind of the consideration I hope you would take, and thank you.
Hey, but Brian, I need to ask you, or Mr. Burdett, I need to ask you a question here. Landriff Lane, is that a collector or an arterial?
Landriff's a collector.
It is a collector.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a collector.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Any other questions? No? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, is it pill? Mr. Tylenol?
Mr. Mayor, Mr. President, council members at large, constituents, my name is Doug Pill. I live at 4520 West Brennan in Boise, Idaho. I like the project for the city of Star. Brian mentioned a moment ago about the price point, what this community does, offers the ability for a lower price point here in the community. I understand the setback. Councilman Wheelock, I understand the space, the visibility, the idea of that. But the truth is, every square foot you take away from a development does one thing: it drives cost. And the end consumer is one that ends up paying for that. I love the fact that there's commercial tied into this particular project. That ultimately lowers the overall cost of the residential development. With that, I just want to say that I've, as a developer partner, Mr. Burnett is someone that I've done projects with all over the valley for a number of years. And I do know that his neighbors end up loving him. So thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Wallace?
Mr. Mayor, council members, I'm here really just to talk about the affordability.
Put your name and address,
Oh,
please.
excuse me, Daniel Wallace, 24766 Old Highway 30, Caldwell, Idaho. I'm here to just talk about affordability and obviously the setbacks again. It's one of those things that's a huge concern, which being a younger person, younger siblings, we need to have a place to live. We're getting priced out of this place pretty quick. And obviously we need to make more money, but we also need to have a place to live. So as far as the commercial lots and things up there, me being a contractor, if that gets turned into something that is a flex space, I would most definitely be interested in seeing that, which is a hope. And then also too, back to the character of Mr. Burnett, I can't speak to all the partners on this project, but Brian does what he says he's going to do. I can't really think of any time in my relationship with him that he has not done so. So anyway, thank you.
And Mr. Zanola, you kind of have a Y and an N.
Sort of an in-betweener.
It's a tweener. Did you want to speak?
Yeah, Mayor Chadwick, council members, Andrew Knowles, 1521. Knowles. Well, I know, it's like Beyonce. Well, I started with a black pen and I noticed everything else was in blue, but that's a whole nother story. 1521 East Crown Point, Eagle, Idaho. Yeah, I don't have any interest in the project. I remember when Grace Assisted Living was planned for this, but it looks like a great project and I would be in support of it. So thank you for your time. Yep.
Mr. Spallino?
Good evening, Mayor Chadwick, council members. Chris Spallino, 22009 Bent Lane. And just for the record, I live in Star, so. When we first moved in, the lot next to us, I live on the other side of Landriff Lane. That was a 2-acre lot, estate lot, and then another lot next to the highway. And then Grace Assisted Living came in and proposed theirs, which I think it was the main complex next to the highway, and then 4 or 5 single-story, 4 or 5 plexes, if I remember correctly. And we were very happy. We were very disappointed that that didn't work out because we're not against development, but we are against density. Since then, it's changed a few times. Now it's up to 3 stories and a lot of units. Basically, to me, it looks like an apartment complex. I will be looking out my bedroom window at a wall of windows, and apparently all roads lead to Landreth Lane these days. That was a surprise to me as well, but it is what it is. But I never really anticipated 1,000 houses going in, and all those, the left in or the right in, right out up at Blessinger. That doesn't matter because everyone's going to go to Bent Lane now because that's going to be the only access before all this other stuff is built, all this hypothetical stuff. From the comments I've heard everyone say at this meeting regarding the last development and some of the other ones, it seems like we distilled it down to just a traffic issue. And it seems like it's getting punted to the highway district. Where to me, I think the issue is about density and the quality of life. We are blocking out the skyline all around us. You're not going to be able to see any nature. Those trees just don't cut it for me on a 2 or 3 story building. So I just implore you, I request respectfully that you guys really reconsider the amount of density. Mr. Wheelock was talking about the 7-foot setbacks in these other neighborhoods are fine. There's almost 0 setbacks there. That's going to be just a solid wall of 2 and 3 story. I don't know if the ones facing Landreth are going to be 2 story or not, or if those are 3 story also, but it's definitely going to impact the quality of life for us as well as everybody else that has to drive by it. I am very concerned about traffic on Landreth Lane. I see that as being the main, I don't know if it's collector, it seems like it's going to be another highway because no matter what you do with state, there's going to be a choke point when it gets to Star. So there's going to be a choke point right at Bent Lane, right in my backyard. So I would respectfully, I don't think there's room with a setback to put a berm in there, but I would like a berm and I would like some kind of sound dampening wall on top because that's going to be nonstop traffic there. So, if you look at the density of Boise and go out, I think the quality of life when you get closer to Boise goes down. I think the problems of the urban area go up. I think high density housing doesn't last over time. I think it deteriorates and it doesn't always turn out to be a benefit for the community. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Mr. Oh, okay, thank you. All right. Mr. Cox?
Good evening, David Cox, 2203 Bent Lane, Star. I'll be on the corner of Bent Lane and Landreth Lane. I understand they'll have to raise all of the roads at least 2 feet to 3 feet for the floodplain. They haven't taken any consideration to the property line that is adjacent to my house and Chris's. I see no reference to a berm, any fencing or soundproofing. All of those headlights and the road noise will come into our house. I would like to know about the transition from Bent Lane to the raised roads, if there'll be any changes along Bent Lane. And the pressurized irrigation that was installed for Grace has never been connected. And when they connect it, I want it to be separate from the HOA to the existing houses since we are on a different property, individual properties. I am also concerned that when they hook up their sewer, Grace said they had to put in a lift station. There's been no reference to a lift station with Star Water and Sewer. I mean, that won't bother me. I'm on septic, but I'd like to make sure that that's not something that's going to interfere with our standard of living in that area. I believe the density should be at 7.5 feet. On the setbacks, I see there's a lot of individual developers that want to be part of this, but I'm really concerned about what they are going to give us for some privacy and a sound buffer along Landreth Lane. By the time it connects to the 3 subdivisions to the west, and then what we pick up with the 3 subdivisions to the south of Landreth off of Bent Lane, it's going to be a very busy road. I accept that, but I would like to see some consideration for our privacy and sound. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Nielsen.
you have a question.
Oh, Mr. Cox.
David.
Sorry, Councilman Nielsen has a question for you.
Have you had any discussions with the applicant as to what you're looking for in terms of buffering, sound barrier,
I would think if
screening?
they raise that road 2 feet, or a minimum of 2 feet, I don't know if that's correct, then that'll put it about even with our back fence, or at least a foot down. I'd like to see a berm if possible, and a soundproofing fencing like they have on River Estates off there, they've already completed on Landreth Lane, and the people to the north of that, they got a nice privacy fence with their berm, and I don't see why we would be any different than them.
Have you had a conversation with them about that?
They came out last year, showed some pictures on some paper, talked about it, but there's been no real confirmation from them that that's what they're going to do. I don't see any allocation on our little print of any type of space. I'm assuming the middle of that road is 75 foot off of our property line. So that means there's a 30-foot grace period between the side of that road and our property line. So what they'll do there, I don't know. They haven't presented anything to us.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, that's all that signed up to speak. Miss Becky? Or, okay, guess you're coming up to speak. You changed?
Dean Waite, 2154 East Timber Trail, Kuhn, Idaho. And I might call Becky or someone else to help me with some of this rebuttal, but I just wanted to talk to a few of the things that were mentioned. Mr. Spallino was concerned about the 2-story homes. They will be 2-story homes that back up to Landreth. The 3 stories will be fronting on Bent Lane, the Live Works. And also between his home and these properties is the rear setback of the homes. I think 25-foot landscape buffer along the collector, and the right-of-way is 75, 50? No, the total right-of-way is more than that, right? Anyway, I'll get that number here real quick, but the collector, the landscape buffer, and the rear backyard setbacks is going to be between his home and the rears of these properties. There was also mentioned that the prior project was fewer townhomes. That's not correct. It was 40 townhomes that were approved, that were part of the Grace Assisted Living. So we've actually reduced the number of townhomes in this plan. And Mr. Cox is concerned with the collector being raised. That is not for our development. That is part of the traffic plan that is going through there. And we are not planning to raise it from what is planned. We're just planning to build it. And it's not very often that one of the developments builds the whole collector on their side of the property when it shares another undeveloped property. Normally you split that and let them share some of that, but we are required to, because we're moving forward, and I'm not exactly sure why all that, but we have agreed to build that whole collector on our side of the property.
Sorry, keep going. I got a question when you're done.
Go ahead.
Well, I just want to, Sean, so, right, what's the next one next? What was Becky's project called?
Serrano.
Are you able to blow that up a little bit on the southern corner there? I'm just trying to, like, it almost looks like that a sidewalk was built to nowhere on the south side of Landreth Lane. The way it shows on here.
Our sidewalk, or?
Yeah, your sidewalk on the south side of Landreth Lane.
We did not show a sidewalk at first, and then as part of the discussion back and forth, I don't know if it was with staff or with the highway district. Do you know that, when that came in? It was requested, and so we added that back in.
I'm just trying to think outside the box a little bit here, just because of the two homeowners that are right there with those larger lots. If the sidewalk would behoove us to have the sidewalk go away and put a berm there with landscaping on there for sound, because it really doesn't go anywhere to anybody. And then we can utilize a crosswalk or something down further to do that. I'm just trying to figure out that option.
We're open to it. More heavy landscaping and replacing that sidewalk. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Instead of having concrete.
Do you do a fence and landscaping
Fence and landscaping or.
and a berm or whatever?
Or something,
All three of
instead
them
of
kind
a sidewalk. John, what do you think?
personalize that?
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilman Nielsen?
Mr. Spallino, in particular, talked about, having views and being able to see out. When you put a berm in there close to his property, I mean, you think of the azimuth perspective, right? The closer you put something to that property, the more you're going to take away that view. Right now, you've got landscaping 75 to 100 feet away. And so as you think of perspective, probably actually aren't going to eliminate skyline views of the foothills and things like that. As soon as you put in a berm and a high fence and then landscaping on top of that, that view goes away entirely.
Or even,
He also mentioned looking at a wall of windows, though.
I understand that. So
but if you've moved the sidewalk and just put trees and stuff in there and a fence, then you accomplish that challenge right there.
right.
Sound.
Well, where I was going with this is you can have one, but not both.
No, I understand that. No,
And so I guess I would err on the side of let's dampen the sound, that a soundproof type fence probably is pretty good. And then screening so that the cars that turn in with headlights shining into the windows. That's what I would recommend.
Can you comment to how much room? Yeah, we need our engineer to come up here to tell.
Sean, can we bring up the final or the pre-plot? C 1.00. Next sheet. Oh, and for the record, David Sterling with Ardura, 1144 South Silverstone Way. Thanks.
Can you blow up that section on the bottom, please?
It's the one up on the top right is what I wanted to show you real quick.
Oh, you want to look at the cross section?
Yeah, let's look at the cross section. Because Mr. Cox was correct. The road, because we're in the floodplain, we have to build everything up. And so the road ends up being 3 feet higher than his property. To the up more and to the up a little bit more there to the left. So right there, can I point? I can't point. Here we go. So right here, so this is Landreth. Right now we have our curb, we have 2 feet to the right of way, and then there's, I think that's 18 feet, so it's 20 feet total from the curb to the property line, and then his fence sits right here. Because we're elevated and we were asked to put in a 7-foot detached sidewalk, the sidewalk is sitting up 3 feet higher than his ground. So, we prefer not to put in that sidewalk. I don't think he wants people walking, right next to his fence, especially if they're tall enough they can actually see over it. So what we kind of proposed originally was that we would leave this all as a landscape buffer. We could, even burn it up maybe slightly and then back down, and then move. My thought is to move a fence, over here to help provide that buffer so that if there are cars here, their streetlights, can't go over the top of his fence. But it would require us not to put in the detached, sidewalk.
I guess my thought on that is that section really is going to nowhere. It's not being used by anybody. And at such time that the Spallinos and the Coxes and the other 3 neighbors I think you have down around there, they would all have to sell to create a development that would really benefit from that. So why even have it? You know what I mean? And then landscape it so it protects them a little bit. So it looks, so it gives them, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? What we're talking about, if you know what I mean? If it goes forward, it's just not a sidewalk that I think is valuable to anybody right there. At this time, if it develops in the future, we can put something in the agreement that allows access to that to go put the sidewalk in.
So we don't get another Seneca Springs, I would say
An easement?
an easement across it so that
Like you're
property
thinking.
did redevelop, they would have access.
Right. Yep.
I worked on some.
You worked on that one?
Well, I didn't work on Seneca Springs, I was working on the one
You're
next to
my
it.
problem.
I'm dealing with the problem. Yeah.
Don't get into that one. Okay.
John, can you go back to that overall, like the landscape one? Thank you. So we do have the Lawrence Kennedy Canal right there, which is basically going to be a big pathway, right? And
Where-
that's connecting in with Serrano. But it will probably have to use a sidewalk because of the two properties.
But it doesn't, Lawrence Kennedy does not go into this property. It goes in between those other properties. Yeah.
Isn't it this
Their
one?
pro- Yeah, but it goes down southern, this is the, this is the
Right,
Sperano
right.
and
So
Cousins
it's,
property.
yeah, so it's not going to be developed
No,
through here.
no,
And so the people would have to come up here and use the sidewalk up here.
on the north side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So just something to, on the
Yeah,
north
yeah,
side.
north, yeah.
And so, there's no sidewalk on the south side in Serrano? Is that what
No, I think there is. I just think that you can do a crosswalk at that. I mean, you're gonna need a crosswalk somewhere, anywhere to get people across that road, right? It could come in off of that collector or that neighborhood collector, whatever, it's coming from Highway 44 down.
As busy
Or
as
across
busy as
there.
that road will be in the future, you might even want to have a hawk light or something there.
hawk light.
That could
Right.
designate where that
Yep.
crossing is further to the west.
So I think I like the idea of that public easement, so you don't have a spite strip in the future. So if it does develop, do you need to put in a sidewalk or pathway or something on that side years down the road, that we at least have that option.
I don't think so, because it's 3 foot up already. You're gonna have a 6-foot fence. That's 9 feet high.
I
on
mean,
your property.
if you raise it a foot, at least then you're not having water and stuff flow into their property off the road.
I think they have to,
Yeah,
it
so-
won't flow in because they
We
still have
can-
the curb.
Yeah, so right now, that's one reason why we did the retaining wall, so we could get it to drain back towards the road, and then we'd have a wall there. So if we don't do that, we'll have to do a little berm and then do like a swell between our property lines.
Okay. I mean, the rally, sorry, Dean. Okay.
Mayor Chadwick,
Councilman Nielsen?
and I apologize if you could come, sorry, I waited till you sat down. Could you come back up? I guess just some final thoughts on that. I feel like, I mean, obviously, we can't condition you to do anything that somebody else dictates, right? In our contract, but it feels like there should be a conversation with the Spalinos and the Cox property owners as to what goes in there, the type of fencing, how high they want the landscaping and things like that. I don't want to tell you that you got to follow what they want. I mean, I can't do that, but it feels like there should be a conversation that they should have input. And just want to get your thoughts on that.
I feel like we kind of just did it, and we're open to changing our plan here to doing the landscape buffer and removing the sidewalk. We're open to that, yes.
Saves you a lot of money to do that.
Trees are just as expensive as concrete.
They are pretty expensive for sure.
It doesn't save us money. It just makes it, we like trees. We love landscaping. I think it makes it look better along there. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I guess where I'm going is I don't know that we have had that conversation. I mean, they shared a couple of things, two of which were contrary to each other. You know, I want a view, but I want buffering. And so where is that happy medium? And that I think is a conversation that
Yes, but we probably know the information that they've shared and that we've shared tonight. Hopefully we can make. a
are you
decision
open to a
tonight.
conversation with them?
Between now and a decision from you guys? Or-
No.
No, after, to design it.
No, where this is going is we're going to say, get rid of the sidewalk, put in the landscaping. This is a condition of approval with a easement along there for the future if needed. And I guess what I'm just asking is that you have a conversation with them. Just get their input. You don't have to take it. I can't condition you that you have to do what they ask. What I'm asking you to do is just have a conversation with them.
For
It
sure.
doesn't sound like there's been a conversation, at least in the last year, and it feels like there's one due.
Okay, yeah, we have no problem with that. And discussing how that landscaping looks in the end, yeah, we have no problem with that.
Cool, thanks.
Anything else?
Okay, go ahead, Dean. Sorry, are you done?
I'm done.
Okay, well, hang on a sec. Let's see if anybody else has questions of you right now. Anybody else got questions of Mr. Dean?
So I just want to make sure I got it straight in my head. So the live week work units that are on Bent, those are 3-story?
We're
Is that
proposing a
correct?
3-story unit, yes.
Okay. And then,
So I don't know
Yep.
if you're gonna go there. At our height of 35 feet, right? It's not,
Yes,
you're
we
not
can-
asking for a
yes.
waiver.
No, we are not.
Okay.
okay.
You
And,
notice the ones we proposed had a flat roof and
Yeah.
yeah, we can make that work.
and then the rest are all 2-story?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Commercial, okay. And then there's no parking on Bent Lane, so people would use for those live work units, they would use that parking lot for taking if they do business on those lower floors. Yep. Okay, that's all.
And I believe Sean talked about a cross parking agreement with
With the commercial.
With the commercial.
parking as well up there for that. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, other questions of Mr. Dean? David? Councilman Nielsen?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. All right, with that said, it is 9:47 and I'm going to close the public hearing and move on to council deliberation. Councilman Nielsen?
Mayor Chadwick, thanks. So I guess I'm curious what other folks on the council think about the request for the waiver on side setbacks. You all know I've been a really vocal advocate for greater setbacks, not smaller setbacks. I would even go more than 7.5 feet to 10 or even 15 if I could, but here we're dealing with 7.5 and a request for 5. As I look at this, then, you know, I tend to agree that the nature of this application lends itself to a smaller setback without that fence in there. But honestly, speaking of fence, I'm on the fence. So I'm really interested to hear other thoughts.
I agree.
So let me give you my thought. I think the nature of this project and the requirements for some of the collector road building, I think sometimes you have to, there's a give and take on what you want to see in a facility like this. I like bigger setbacks, but 5-foot setbacks, Victor was good with that, with no fence on that, on the fire side. He wasn't good with it on the previous application. So he's looked at this and said that works, and I think it's going to work. It works fine. I'm more concerned about the 30 feet or 25 feet between the Spalinos, Coxes, and this project, making certain that there's buffers and stuff in there for them there, and making this project work. It's just sat as a field for so long, right? As a partial development, and I think based on the elevations that I see in that, I think it's going to look good. I don't think there's going to be a challenge or an issue with that and with the commercial components and all the landscaping that we have. So that's where I'm at with that.
You know, and I guess I'd add to that I feel like this aligns well with our comprehensive plan's emphasis on mixed use transitional areas, density control. I think the deviations that seem to be thoughtfully designed and consistent with the intended flexibility of a planned unit development, with some of the changes we talked about, I think it provides adequate buffering. Parking's good, and there's infrastructure there. So that's what I'm seeing.
Councilman Wheelock?
You know, I brought up the side setbacks because I feel like they always end up being default to less than we want in our overall code, which drives me crazy. The reality is I don't have a problem with them. I like them bigger. I want to see that as a regular, normal 7.5 is where we stand. And we make more exceptions than I'd care to make. I do like the conversation adjusting the southern boundary to make it what's reasonable for the existing residents. To me, that's the trade-off that I'm happy with is, okay, we're given here, let's meet you in the middle somewhere else. To me, that's the trade-off we're making. Giving up a sidewalk so that they have more sound and light buffer. Most important fence that was ever installed for me was on Star Road and Floating Feather when they put a privacy fence around the retention pond so that every light didn't come in my house as they came around Floating Feather and Star Road. It's the most important fence. I never even knew it was a problem until it was already a solution. So that's, to me, that fence is gonna be more valuable than they care to know right now. So that would be my suggestion.
And I just want to add, I look at when we're talking about the setback thing, look at the proximity to State Highway 44, which is going to be a 5-lane highway pretty soon. And the wider you get, the closer you get to that, the more sound that will travel, right? You're creating a sound barrier in a way with a narrower setback that'll help, I think, those folks down there on the south anyway. So I just, looking at it, I think it's a great project. I think it's going to turn out pretty sweet, in my opinion, overall. And it'll give us that much needed connection for Landriff Lane on there. But we just want to just do the things that are necessary to protect as much as you can the Spalinos and the Coxes right there on the south side. So. All right.
I'm in agreement with all of that. Setbacks are case by case. And in this case, it seems to work, and it's more the north south that I'm worried about, and that's good. I'm ready for a motion, I think. I do believe we're all in the same spot. So, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve, and I just lost my title. Thank you. The Hacienda Gosh darn it. Yes, Hacienda de la Stranda townhomes with the understanding that the south border will be landscaped as discussed, and also a conversation with the neighbors.
And fenced.
And
Landscaping and fencing. I mean, it's
Yes.
a border thing, so it's a fence thing.
As
Yeah.
we stated, as it was agreed upon when the deliberation was happening. Also, that lot number 5 for the commercial, it can only be a neighborhood residential, commercial. Man, I can't think, that was about it. Oh, and the setbacks are approved as presented, the 5 feet for this case. So the landscaping, the setbacks, the commercial residential.
Connection.
Do we need anything in there for the?
And that,
I was,
and man, no spice strip. We need the public easement down there on the south too.
so and a public easement down south with no spike strip, and also there was something right there.
The easement,
connection,
the commercial easement up north.
commercial easement up north. Those 5, maybe 6 things.
Do we also need to include the sidewalks? 'Cause they're private or they're out of this HD4, right?
Well,
Yeah.
it follows the same rule with Highway District 4.
Right,
As far as being out of the public easement. They're-
right.
Yeah, that's going to be a normal condition. We're going to.
That's
gonna be a normal
So
condition
that's
on the
like
Kelly
a
County side.
And,
Doesn't go in the.
Yeah.
Canyon County.
agreement.
Yep.
Yep. So as stated and included.
Okay, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We got a motion, a second, but before we vote, I just want a clarification of something real quick from Ryan Morgan that was brought up about the lift station. Is there a lift station on site here or no?
There will, when we were meeting with future or with past developers, there was a
You turned
potential
it off.
for a lift station. However, with the connection coming through Serrano and through Legato, there is no need for a lift station on this side.
So there'll be no lift station there, so you guys are aware of that over there on that side. I just want to make sure that that was on the record, so it was out there for everybody to see. All right. We got a motion and a second on the table. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Hershey,
Aye.
Wheelock,
Aye.
Salmonson,
Aye.
Nielsen.
I
All right, that motion carries. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, we're going to move on to item 5C. I'm going to open the Star River Crossing Rezone Development Agreement and then have you guys table it to June 3rd. Okay, so it is 9:55 and I'm going to open this hearing and ask if you have any ex parte contact or communication regarding the project.
None.
No.
Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to table this until June 3rd.
So moved, Mr. Mayor. Payable to June 3rd.
We got a motion, we got a second.
Second.
Guys, can you go outside?
Second.
Second. Wheelock, I think, got
Did
it.
you second it? So Councilman Hershey, made the motion.
Second.
Wheelock seconded it. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Hershey,
Aye.
Wheelock,
Aye.
Salmonson,
Aye.
Nielsen.
Aye.
That motion carries. Thank you. On to item 6. We have some action items. We need to approve some ordinances here, so we need to suspend the rules.
Yeah, I can do that.
For the first one on 6A,
Where's the thing?
There you go.
Sean, can you pull up are you able to pull up these ordinances for us real quick? The first one?
For the suspension.
Suspended first there for us.
Introduce.
Mr. Mayor, I move that pursuant to Idaho Code Section 50-902, the rule requiring an ordinance to be read in 3 different days with 1 reading to be in full be dispensed with, and that the ordinance number 415-2025 Terramore subdivision. Do them both?
No.
At the same time. No, just
No.
suspend the rules first, and then we'll approve each one in separate. Oh, yes. Yeah, okay.
And ordinance 416-2025 LifeSpring Church rezone be considered after reading once by title only.
Sorry, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Councilman Hershey. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Hershey,
Aye.
Wheelock,
Aye.
Salmonson, Nielsen.
Aye.
That motion carries. Now we can approve the ordinance. We'll start with ordinance, first one on Terramore.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Hershey.
I move that we approve ordinance number 415-2025, the Terramore subdivision annexation. An ordinance annexing to the city of Star certain real property located in the unincorporated area of Canyon County, Idaho, more specifically located on the north side of State Highway 44 between Kingsbury Road and Blessinger Road in Star, Idaho. That's Canyon County parcels. Do I need to read those? I guess so. R338140110, R33997001100, R339800100, R339810000, and R339870000. Oh, and R3996010A0. And contiguous to the city of Star, the property is owned by Corey Barton and Open Door Rentals LLC, establishing the zoning classification of the annexed property as residential district with a development agreement and plan unit development, R3DA PUD, neighborhood commercial district with a development agreement and plan unit development, C1DA PUD, and general commercial district with a development agreement and plan unit development, C2DA PUD, of approximately 297.17 acres. Directing that certified copies of this ordinance be filed as provided by law, providing for related matters and providing for an effective date.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, and a second by Councilman Wheelock. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Hershey,
Aye.
Wheelock,
Aye.
Salmonson, Nielsen.
Aye.
That motion carries. Thank you. On to item 6B, approval of ordinance for Life Springs Church.
Mayor Chadwick.
Councilwoman Salmonson.
I move to approve ordinance 416-2025 LifeSpring Church rezone, an ordinance rezoning certain real property located in Star, Ada County, Idaho, more specifically located at 174 and 198 North Star Road, Ada County, parcels R0011350085 and SO 408336050. Property is owned by Star Christian Church, Inc., establishing the zoning classification of the rezoned property as Central Business District, CBD-DA, with a development agreement of approximately 1.64 acres. Directing that certified copies of this ordinance be filed as provided by law, providing for related matters and providing for an effective date.
Okay, we got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Councilman Wheelock. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Hershey.
Aye.
Wheelock.
Aye.
Selmanson.
Aye.
Nielsen.
Aye.
Awesome. That motion carries. That concludes the business for tonight at our Star City Council meeting. It is 10 o'clock and we are adjourned.